My wife's betrayal, I immediately marry the beautiful CEO. Chapter 1, Court in the Affair. R. Hurry up, if we wait any longer, my husband will be back. What are you afraid of? He's just a waste. Even if he comes back, what can he do? Hearing those familiar voices, Lin Chuan froze on the spot. He never expected that by taking a leave from work to celebrate his wife's birthday, he would stumble upon this scene. Could it be? Could it really be? He quickly walked towards the bedroom. Through the slightly ajar door, he saw two bodies tangled on the bed. A wave of unprecedented helplessness washed over him. His palm went soft. Clack! The Osmondus cake he was holding fell to the ground. Who's there? Hearing the noise, the man inside shouted. The woman scolded, Are you crazy? This is my home, why are you making noise? Who's there? The woman, putting on her clothes, pushed the door open. When she saw the man in front of her, she froze. Husband. Lin Chuan. The man behind her also poked his head out, yet he showed no sign of panic. Both were disheveled, the man was even shirtless. Seeing the man's face, Lin Chuan's madness deepened. Jiang Lang. It's you? This man was none other than Jiang Lang, from the wealthy Jiang family. He was also Lin Chuan's friend and colleague at the hospital. Lin Chuan never imagined that the person having an affair with his wife would be him. The friend who had always been kind to him was now seducing his wife. Everything that had seemed off before suddenly clicked into place. No wonder Jiang Lang had asked him to help with emergency cases. No wonder he had to work overtime every day. They had clearly been doing this for a long time. Anger surged in Lin Chuan's chest, and he trembled as he shouted, I work my ass off to make money, and you sneak around behind my back with him. Jiang Lang, calmly pulling up his pants and sitting on the side, lit a cigarette and said indifferently, You handle this. Husband, calm down. Looking at the nearly naked pair, Lin Chuan felt his hands trembling. Get away. He shoved the woman aside, his eyes bloodshot. Chen Yuan, I don't understand. I love you so much. I cook, I wash clothes, I can't bear for you to do anything. I work every day to pay for your expenses, and this is how you treat me. Chen Yuan was knocked back, sitting on the floor, her spoiled temper flaring up as she gave up pretending. Heh, so what if I'm cheating? Lin Chuan, it's fine if you don't say anything, but when you do, it pisses me off. You're a waste with that tiny salary of yours. Do you think you can support me? For the past 3 years, haven't I been living in my family's house and using their money? Without me, could you live in such a luxurious villa? Could you afford such high-end things? You should be grateful that I've let you live the life of the rich. Lin Chuan staggered, leaning against the wall, as if all the strength in his body had been drained. Is this your reason for cheating? Just because of this? Chen Yuan sneered. Of course not. He's better looking than you, makes more money, and more importantly, he's from the Jiang family, a medical genius, worth billions. We belong together, do you understand, waste? Jiang Lang, still calm, said, Lin Chuan, if you pretend you didn't see this today, she'll still be your wife. You can use the mansion and the car as you like, and I'll even get you a job at our hospital with double the salary. He pulled the woman into his arms and sneered. But the condition is, you can't tell anyone about this. From now on, we sleep in the bed, and you sleep in the living room. Got it. The woman smiled seductively and playfully hit Jiang Lang's chest. Don't be so naughty. After hearing this, Lin Chuan felt a rush of bile in his throat. If I agreed to this, what would be the difference between me and a living corpse? He came from a wealthy family, but Lin Chuan never got to enjoy the benefits. His family collapsed shortly after he was born, and his parents disappeared, leaving him destitute. He was left alone and fallen into despair, but he didn't give up. He studied hard and landed a job at the best hospital in Yarn City. 3 years ago, he saved a drowning girl by jumping off a 50-meter high bridge, sustaining severe injuries and an unknown toxin that almost killed him. The girl he saved disappeared without a trace, and Lin Chuan was left with permanent health problems. In the end, he could barely walk and became a marginal figure at the hospital. At this low point, the Chen family chose him as their son-in-law. He was grateful to them. Without the Chen family, the useless person he had become might not even have enough money to treat his illness. For the past 3 years, he had worked tirelessly, bearing all the hardships, enduring ridicule from his family, and had never hidden anything about his family's knowledge. But after 3 years of silent endurance, this was his reward. He had been humiliated for 3 years. Now, having endured such disgrace, if he still tolerated it, would he even be a man? "I'll make sure you regret this, you bitch. I'll kill you." He raised his fist in fury, but before he could throw it, Jiang Lang kicked him to the ground. "Trash. You still want to hit me?" Jiang Lang spat on Lin Chuan's body. "With this kind of skill, no wonder you're just a son-in-law." Lin Chuan, lying on the floor, gasped for air and said weakly, "Chen Yuan, I'll tell Mom. I'll make her take my side." Chen Yuan sneered. "Mom? Har har har, Lin Chuan, let me tell you the truth. You were only chosen as the Chen family's son-in-law because we wanted the medical formula you brought from the Lin family. We were just using you. Go ahead and sue. Let us see if my mom will side with me, her real daughter, or you, a useless son-in-law." Hearing this, Lin Chuan's eyes lost all focus, and he was consumed by despair. From the very beginning, he had been nothing more than a disposable pawn for the Chen family. Looking at the shameless pair, he trembled and said, "I will expose your affair, and what you've done to me." Hearing this, Jiang Lang's face darkened. "Expose us? You're asking for death." He grabbed Lin Chuan and tossed him out of the window. The window was on the 3rd floor. Lin Chuan fell heavily onto a luxury car parked below. Bang! The car's roof caved in. Lin Chuan's body was twisted, and blood poured from his 7 orifices. At this point, he was barely breathing, his consciousness fading. At least this way, he wouldn't have to live like a useless, pathetic fool anymore. By the window, the woman covered her mouth, watching in disbelief as Lin Chuan fell to the ground. "He won't be dead, will he?" "Don't care." Jiang Lang joked. Chen Yuan smiled. "Not really, just thinking it's a shame for the new car you bought me. It's stained with blood now, so unlucky." Jiang Lang grinned proudly. "In 3 days, the Tang family will come to Yarn City looking for partners. The Jiang family is already the top contender. Once the contract money comes in, I'll buy you a new car." Chen Yuan excitedly hugged Jiang Lang's neck. "I don't want a car. I want a villa in Longwan community." "No problem. Once we get the Tang family contract, I'll buy you anything you want." In his final moments, Lin Chuan could only hear the lascivious laughter of the two of them. In his fury and shame, he could no longer hold it in and spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, he completely lost consciousness, sinking into a bottomless darkness. In the deep pit of a garbage dump, a group of people silently prepared their tools and descended into the pit. After a while, a voice echoed from the depths. "Someone is still breathing." The secretary asked, "Is he alive?" "Still breathing, but not for long." The secretary turned to look behind her. A person in black slowly pushed a wheelchair forward. On the wheelchair sat a young woman in a white dress, pure and delicate. She coughed lightly and asked, "Do you have the Sanbao golden pill?" The secretary froze. "Are you planning to give it to him?" "Yes." The young woman nodded gently. The secretary was astonished and quickly said, "Miss, that's your life-saving medicine. There's only one in the world." The young woman glanced at her coldly. "Do I need your permission to do what I want?" "Go get it." The secretary, her face stiff, quickly bowed. "I'm sorry, I'll go get it right now." Soon, Lin Chuan was pulled out of the pit. The girl gazed quietly at his face, her cold and emotionless expression deep in thought. A weak, pathetic man, could he really be the same person who jumped into the river without hesitation to save me? Chapter 2, The Inheritance. In a daze, Lin Chuan suddenly felt something being placed into his mouth. Moments later, it transformed into a sweet liquid, flowing down his throat and spreading throughout his body. Gradually, incredible changes began to occur within him. His once shriveled blood vessels slowly began to activate. It felt as though he was sinking into a vast, tranquil ocean, his entire body enveloped in warm seawater. "Where is this?" he cried out in his mind. Suddenly, a voice echoed in his ears. "This is your spiritual sea, you fool. You don't even know what the spiritual sea is. 300 years, 300 years. Finally, a descendant of the Lin family comes to see me, sigh. And it's a waste like you. 300 years and this is what I get. Fine. My time is running out, little waste. This inheritance of the Lin family, which has lasted for 10,000 years, will be passed to you. Use it well, and I hope you can restore the Lin family to its former glory. Don't let me down. Before Lin Chuan could react, thousands of voices exploded in his ears. It was as if hundreds or thousands of followers were chanting scriptures in unison by his side. Countless pieces of knowledge from Lin family ancestors' medical wisdom, martial arts secrets, ancient cultivation methods, divine arts, and Taoist techniques rushed toward him. The overwhelming flood of information filled his mind, causing him to fall into unconsciousness once again. Inside a luxury car, a young girl gazed gently at Lin Chuan. Her thoughts drifted back to 3 years ago. That rainy night on the bridge, when she was stabbed by assassins and thrown into the river. It was this man who had jumped off the bridge to save her, pulling her out of the water. She never imagined that her benefactor would end up in such a pitiful state. It must have been that day he had come into contact with her and contracted the cold poison on her body. Is this all because he saved me? The girl muttered to herself. Her secretary softly comforted her. Miss, you don't need to blame yourself. Good people always get rewarded, he'll be fine. The girl didn't answer. Instead, she gently grasped Lin Chuan's cold hand. After a moment, her tone turned icy as she said, help me count the members of the Jiang family, and prepare the same number of coffins. The secretary was stunned and quickly replied, Miss, the Jiang family of Yarn City is one of the families we're about to cooperate with. The girl coldly interrupted, the Tang family doesn't need a partner, especially not one who dares to harm my benefactor. And what if he is not your benefactor? The secretary hesitated to ask. The girl's face turned as cold as ice, her voice calm and unyielding, you've said too much today. The secretary swallowed nervously and immediately fell silent. The crisis from 3 years ago had completely changed the young lady's character. The gentle, kind-hearted girl she once was would likely never return. When Lin Chuan opened his eyes again, he found himself lying on a soft hospital bed. The room was bright and tidy. Beside his bed, a gentle and sweet young girl was lying with her head on the side of the bed, sleeping peacefully. Her breathing was soft and serene. At that moment, a doctor entered the room. Seeing that Lin Chuan had woken up, he was astonished. You're awake? Lin Chuan nodded, and after a moment, hurriedly asked, excuse me, where is this? The doctor casually placed the medication on the bedside table and explained, this is Yarn City Central Hospital. Hospital? How did I end up here? Of course, Miss Tang brought you here. Miss Tang. Following the doctor's gaze, Lin Chuan saw the girl lying at his bedside. The noise had woken her up. She slowly sat up, rubbing her drowsy eyes. At that moment, Lin Chuan noticed that she was seated in a wheelchair. You're awake? The girl asked, her voice filled with excitement. Lin Chuan was a bit flustered and hurriedly got up. Hello, did you save me? Yes, the girl nodded lightly, explaining, yesterday, I was taking a walk in the forest park when I found you unconscious in the woods and brought you here. Lin Chuan's emotions were mixed, but he didn't think much of it. He only sighed at how he had endured such torture and still didn't die. He felt weak, thinking about how he would have to continue facing the bleakness of life. Perhaps it would have been better if he had just died back then. He smiled bitterly, saying, thank you for saving my life, miss. No need to thank me, I didn't do much. Also, you don't have to call me miss, my name is Tanghua. My name is Lin Chuan. Tanghua curiously asked, I really didn't expect it. You were so badly injured when I found you, but after bringing you to the hospital, we couldn't find any injuries at all. You were healed overnight. Lin Chuan was taken aback. That's right. He quickly began to feel his body and indeed found that the scars were gone, and the pain had vanished. Even old injuries had disappeared. Could it be? Suddenly, he recalled the voice that had kept speaking to him during his final moments. That wasn't a dream. He remembered everything the voice had said clearly. At that moment, he had inherited all the knowledge of the ancient Lin family. Medical skills, secret methods, cultivation techniques. His injuries must have healed during that time. Coming back to his senses, Lin Chuan suppressed the overwhelming joy in his heart and gently shook his head. I don't know. The doctor couldn't help but comment, of course, you wouldn't know. If it wasn't for our miss giving you the life-saving medicine. Before he could finish speaking, Tanggua shot him a sharp look, and the doctor immediately fell silent. Lin Chuan then remembered that when he was on the verge of death, he had indeed felt something enter his mouth. No wonder he had never awakened to his family's inheritance in over 20 years. It must have been that medicine that triggered his potential, allowing him to gain the family's inheritance. Lin Chuan was deeply grateful, but could only express it with a simple, "Thank you." Tanggua, however, smiled softly. "I'm just glad you're all right." Just then, the doctor had already opened a syringe and prepared to inject it. "It's time for the injection," the doctor said. Lin Chuan hurriedly waved his hand, saying, "I'm fine now. There's no need for the injection." The doctor glanced at him indifferently and coldly replied, "I'm not injecting you. I'm injecting our miss." Lin Chuan felt embarrassed. Looking at the dozen or so different medications in the box, he was surprised. "What illness do you have?" Tanggua, who had been frowning and anxiously watching the needle enter her skin, smiled and answered when she heard Lin Chuan's question. "It's the after-effects of poisoning. These medicines just help sustain my life." Lin Chuan's head buzzed. Before his eyes, a map of the girl's meridians appeared, with blockages and the toxic areas clearly visible. Even the treatment methods for her illness flashed through his mind. Coming back to his senses, Lin Chuan realized with shock, the Lin family's inheritance had shown him how to save Tanggua. Watching the useless medicine being injected into Tanggua's veins, as her pale face displayed signs of weakness and pain, Lin Chuan suddenly, almost unconsciously, blurted out, "Miss Tang, I can cure your illness." Chapter 3, Tanggua's Recovery. As soon as the words left Lin Chuan's mouth, everyone was stunned, and even the doctors outside the room were drawn in by his statement. All eyes turned toward Lin Chuan. Tanggua looked at him in shock and asked, "You say you can cure my illness?" Lin Chuan took a deep breath and finally nodded. "I can." The doctor immediately sneered. "Ridiculous. You? Do you even know how serious Miss Tang's condition is?" Lin Chuan shook his head. "I'm not joking. All I need are some silver needles, hutang grass, strychnine, powdered stone, peach leaves, and 3 liang each of these herbs. I can cure this illness." Upon hearing this, the doctor's face turned pale. "Miss, don't listen to his nonsense. These are all extremely poisonous substances." Tanggua furrowed her brows. It's often said that one becomes familiar with medicine after being sick for a long time. She knew better than anyone the toxicity of these herbs. Taken alone, they could be fatal, and combined, they could even kill an elephant. Could it be that the benefactor she had come so far to find was a madman? Or was he pretending to have the ability to cure her illness just to please her? But thinking this, Tanggua instead kindly reminded him, "Lin Chuan, my status is very special. If I die in your hands or something goes wrong, my family will never let you go. Your fate will be miserable. Even so, are you really sure you can cure me? You're not joking, are you?" Lin Chuan took a deep breath, already having made up his mind. "I'm sure." Lin Chuan sensed the doubt in Tanggua's tone and quickly added, "Miss Tang, my family is a medical family, and I'm a doctor at Yarn City Hospital. Although I've fallen on hard times now, in ancient times, my ancestors were famous enough to be compared to the medicine king Sun Simiao." The secretary sneered. "You don't think we Haven Tea investigated you, do you? Your little Lin family, your best prescription was stolen by someone else, and yet you still dare to claim you're comparable to the medicine king. I'll ask you again, how many patients have you cured in your life?" Lin Chuan was stunned, then shook his head. He had never had the opportunity to save anyone at that hospital. None. As soon as he said this, the entire room was in an uproar. The doctor laughed heartily. "If a person like you can cure diseases, then I'll quit my job right now." Hearing Lin Chuan's words, the secretary's face darkened with fury. If it weren't for Tanggua forbidding it, she would have had someone throw this man out already. Lin Chuan ignored the doubts and confidently looked at Tanggua. "If I can't cure Miss Tang's illness, I'm willing to die as an apology." Tanggua's face was filled with tenderness as she calmly gazed at Lin Chuan. "Are you really sure?" Lin Chuan nodded heavily. "I'm sure." "Then let us begin." Everyone was shocked. The secretary wanted to argue, but Tanggua raised her hand to stop her. "Shut up. Go get the medicine. I believe he won't harm me." Reluctantly, the secretary ordered someone to fetch the herbs. Tangwa blinked and looked at Lin Chuan. Do you need me to cooperate with you in any way? Lin Chuan took a deep breath. I need you to expose your back so I can perform the acupuncture. Okay. Without hesitation, Tangwa dismissed everyone else and had Lin Chuan and the secretary help her lie on the bed. The ordeal had left her even more fragile. Now drenched in sweat, she lay on the bed, not wanting to say a word. The secretary went to fetch the herbs. Now, only Lin Chuan and Tangwa remained in the room. Tangwa calmly unbuttoned her shirt and slowly removed her top. Standing behind her, Lin Chuan couldn't help but swallow when he saw her smooth, pale back. The secretary brought the required herbs, along with silver needles and an alcohol lamp. Before leaving, the secretary stared at Lin Chuan with an intense, threatening look. Lin Chuan, however, inexplicably felt a bit nervous. But at that moment, Tangwa softly reassured him. There's no need to be nervous. I trust you. In that moment, Lin Chuan became calm. With everything that had led up to this point, and with her trust in him, how could he hesitate? He began the acupuncture. Following the instructions in his mind, he started working. First, he ground the toxic herbs into powder, then dipped the heated silver needles into the powder. Exhaling deeply, Lin Chuan tried to calm his mind. At that moment, the image of Tangwa's meridian map appeared in his mind. The blocked blood vessels, the congested meridians, each one seemed to guide him to place the silver needles at those precise points. He gently traced Tangwa's back with his hand. Her skin was smooth and elastic, like touching tofu. But then, a chilling coldness surged into his fingertips. Her body was so cold, like a corpse. Tangwa's body trembled slightly as Lin Chuan's fingers touched her, but she did not make a sound. Lin Chuan quickly composed himself and swiftly began the acupuncture. As one needle after another pierced Tangwa's skin, she felt her entire back become numb and tingly, like electricity coursing through her body. Having suffered from pain for so long, she had never felt anything this relieving. She slowly closed her eyes, wishing she could remain in this soothing sensation forever and never wake up. Outside the ward, everyone anxiously waited. If anything went wrong with Tangwa in here, no one present would survive. It's hard to say how much time had passed. Lin Chuan put down the silver needles, drenched in sweat. However, he couldn't hide the excitement in his heart. He had succeeded. Using the method passed down in his memories, he had completely removed the cold poison from Tangwa's body. Miss Tang, he called several times. But despite her supposed awakening, Tangwa's condition looked quite dire. She was drenched in sweat, her lips were pale, and her tired eyes couldn't even stay open. Seeing her still with her back exposed and drenched in sweat, Lin Chuan quickly helped her put on her clothes, fearing she might catch a chill. At this moment, the secretary, unable to hold back any longer, barged into the room. Upon entering, she saw the scene in front of her. Stop! You bastard! The secretary was furious and immediately shoved Lin Chuan aside. Seeing Tangwa, weak and nearly unconscious, she suppressed her rage and shouted angrily. Our mistrusted you so much, you shameless liar! She stepped forward to check on Tangwa, only to find that she had fallen into a deep coma. Someone! Quickly call a doctor! And throw this bastard who desecrated our miss out of here. Lin Chuan was confused. He was certain he had cured Tangwa, but why hadn't she awakened yet? The bodyguards at the door could no longer hold their anger in. If I'd known this would happen, we should never have saved this bastard. Miss even used the miracle medicine to save him, and now that it's gone, what will happen to her? Lin Chuan was dragged out by several of them. At this point, he still couldn't believe it. He had done everything he could. She should have been cured by now. Could it be that he was wrong? Facing the cold stares of the group, Lin Chuan felt a pang of guilt. If she really dies because of me, I'll end my life to apologize. You're not worthy. The black-clad bodyguard sneered. You're just a worthless life. How dare you say you'll die with our miss? With that, the bodyguards grabbed Lin Chuan and threw him out of the hospital. Even then, they weren't done and began beating him up with fists and kicks. Lin Chuan could only curl up, taking the punches raining down on him. The secretary knew that Miss Tang highly valued Lin Chuan. She couldn't let him be beaten to death here. She stopped the bodyguards. Stop. Let him go. The bodyguards finally stopped. The crowd dispersed, leaving Lin Chuan alone. Later, Tangwa slept for another hour, until the sound of a cup breaking in the hallway finally woke her up. She was exhausted. The constant torment from her illness had left her restless. Thanks to Lin Chuan, she had been able to rest so well. She rubbed her eyes. As her consciousness gradually returned, she felt a sensation of comfort she had never experienced before. Her muscles seemed to have regained vitality, and her mind was incredibly alert. The gentle breeze outside the window brushed against her, and she felt warmth, no longer the bone-chilling cold. She had really been cured. At this thought, her eyes were filled with excitement. Lin Chuan not only saved her life but had also given her a second chance at life. At the thought of him, her face flushed slightly. She couldn't wait to see him immediately. But when she looked around, the room was empty. This made Tang Guo feel confused. Could it be that the treatment took too long? Did Lin Chuan go out to eat? She didn't think too much about it. Right now, the excitement of her physical recovery filled her heart. She tentatively stood up and was actually able to do so. She was overjoyed. 3 years. It had been 3 years since she had been able to stand. Lin Chuan. It was all thanks to Lin Chuan, the benefactor who had saved her twice. Thinking of him, Tang Guo's face turned slightly red. She couldn't wait to see him. Just then, the door creaked open. Tang Guo immediately turned her head. However, the look of surprise in her eyes quickly disappeared. It wasn't Lin Chuan, but her secretary, who came in with 2 doctors. But the moment the secretary entered, she froze. She saw Tang Guo standing there, holding onto the windowsill, turning to look at her. The secretary's eyes were filled with excitement. "Miss Tang, you're awake, and you can stand." Tang Guo didn't respond directly but calmly asked, "Where is Lin Chuan?" The secretary's expression stiffened. He left. Left. Tang Guo furrowed her brows. Lin Chuan left. Why did he leave? Where did he go? The secretary stammered, "I thought he took the opportunity to assault you, and caused you to fall into a coma, so I had him thrown out." Tang Guo's face changed drastically. Her eyes filled with anger as she scolded, "Bring him back immediately, or I'll make sure you regret it." The secretary's face turned pale. She knew what Tang Guo's words meant. But the city of Yang was so large, where could Lin Chuan possibly go? Chapter 4, Beating the Shameless Couple. Lin Chuan walked aimlessly down the street. His mind was in turmoil. He couldn't figure out where he had gone wrong. Why hadn't Miss Tang awakened? He was frustrated, wandering aimlessly with no clear direction. Just then, a car blocked his path. The red Porsche was so glaringly bright that Lin Chuan immediately recognized it. The door opened, and the driver stepped out, looking at Lin Chuan with a face full of surprise. "You're still alive, huh?" It was Jiang Lang. He looked absolutely shocked. Yesterday, he had beaten Lin Chuan half to death and had him thrown into the wilderness. Yet here Lin Chuan was, alive and well, standing in front of him. Lin Chuan's face darkened. "If you didn't die, how could I possibly be dead?" Jiang Lang smirked and said, "Oh? Lin Chuan, you dare talk back? Have you gone mad from hunger? Come on, call me dad, and I'll buy you something to eat." Lin Chuan took a deep breath, a murderous intent flashing in his eyes. He was burning with rage, and Jiang Lang had come at the perfect moment. Lin Chuan clenched his fists, ready to beat the bastard to death. Just then, someone's head popped out of the passenger side window. When Lin Chuan saw their face, his expression froze, and his heart twisted with pain. Chen Yuan. The woman he had cherished for 3 years was now here with another man. Chen Yuan, upon seeing her man, didn't feel the slightest bit of guilt. Instead, she spat on the ground and cursed. "How unlucky. Why won't you just go away?" Jiang Lang laughed, "I think he wants to kneel and beg for your forgiveness." Chen Yuan rolled her eyes, "Let me tell you, Lin Chuan, even if you kneel and beg, I will never give you another chance." This couple made Lin Chuan sick to his stomach. At this moment, he felt no emotion toward Chen Yuan. He only hated himself for not seeing her true face earlier. With a sneer, he said, "Don't worry, I've already seen through you. Even if you're lying on the ground begging me to play with you, I won't even spare you a glance." Upon hearing these words, Chen Yuan's face changed drastically. This was the coward who used to kneel and wash her feet. How dare he speak to her like this now? "Come back here." Dare you say that again? Lin Chuan just scoffed. Bitch. Chen Yuan went crazy, yelling, I'll smash your mouth. I'll kill you. She charged toward him, fangs bared. But Lin Chuan's eyes gleamed with murderous intent. Get lost. He flung her to the ground. His eyes were filled with coldness, without the slightest trace of sympathy. Chen Yuan had never been treated this way, and immediately threw a tantrum. Jianglang, what are you waiting for? Help me get rid of this bastard. Jianglang finally reacted. Stay right there. Lin Chuan ignored him and continued walking forward. Jianglang stepped in front of him, sneering. Lin Chuan, didn't you hear me? You want to get beaten up again? Chen Yuan took out her phone, started recording, and excitedly shouted. Darling, beat him to death. Beat the shit out of him. Jianglang, feeling smug, added, Lin Chuan, I'll give you a chance. Kneel, bow to me, and lick my shoes clean, and I'll forgive you. How about it? But what he didn't expect was Lin Chuan's simple and direct response. With a slap, Lin Chuan struck him hard. Slap. The sound of the slap echoed. Jianglang's face immediately split open, blood splattering as he staggered back, nearly falling to the ground. The force of the slap nearly knocked his eyeballs out of their sockets. You dare hit me? Jianglang stumbled, staring in disbelief at Lin Chuan. Hit you? Lin Chuan sneered. Today, I'm going to beat you to death. Jianglang was furious. Being slapped by someone he had bullied for years was the ultimate humiliation. He pulled out a short knife from his pocket and rushed at Lin Chuan. However, Lin Chuan was no longer the same. Having just consumed a powerful tonic and mastered the Lin family's secret techniques, his body had fully recovered, and his strength far surpassed that of ordinary people. Before Jianglang could even get close, Lin Chuan had already raised his right foot. Boom! The kick landed directly on Jianglang's face, sending him flying. The sole of Lin Chuan's size 43 shoe left a clear imprint on his face. Jianglang crashed to the ground, howling in pain. Chen Yuan fell completely silent, her hand shaking as she held the phone. She was utterly stunned. Was this really the same sickly loser she remembered? The Lin Chuan who could barely speak without wheezing? Lin Chuan silently clenched his fists. This was the first time he had used the Lin family's legacy, and he was surprised at his own strength. Because of his past, he had been reduced to a cripple, suffering endless humiliation for 3 years. But now, everything he had lost 3 years ago along with the confidence he had lost had returned. Looking at the trembling, terrified Jianglang, Lin Chuan felt immense satisfaction. He stepped on Jianglang's head and pushed down harder. Today, I'm going to return every bit of the humiliation you gave me. Die. Hearing this, Jianglang cried out in fear. Master Lin, I was wrong, Master Lin, please spare me. I won't do it again. I'll never dare again. Looking at his pathetic state, Lin Chuan sneered. It's too late. I'm just a worthless life anyway. I'll kill you, then I'll go and kill your whole family. And you? He pointed at Chen Yuan, sneering, you too. I'm going to wipe out your entire Chen family. Chen Yuan's heart went cold as she met Lin Chuan's gaze. At this moment, Jianglang had already wet himself, trembling as he spoke. Master Lin, I really know I was wrong. If you spare me, I'll do anything. I won't complain. The commotion had attracted the attention of quite a few people. Lin Chuan looked around and smiled. All right, then. Crawl like a dog. If I don't tell you to stop, you can't stop. Jianglang looked horrified. But before he could finish, Lin Chuan stomped on his hand. Oh! Jianglang screamed in pain. I'll crawl. I'll crawl. Now tell everyone why you're crawling like a dog. Jianglang dared not bargain anymore. He got on all fours, crawling like a dog while shouting. I slept with someone else's wife and tried to kill her husband. As Jianglang confessed, the onlookers were stunned. At first, they had felt some sympathy for him. But now, hearing his words, it was clear that he was just another version of Shimanqing and Pan Jinian. Many people had already taken out their phones to record Jianglang's disgrace. Lin Chuan felt immense satisfaction and turned to leave. But just then, Chen Yuan blocked his way, shouting angrily. Lin Chuan! How dare you treat Jianglang like this? You're finished. The Jiang family will never forgive you. They'll tear you apart and leave you without a place to bury your body. Go to hell. Lin Chuan slapped her face with force. The slap left half of her face swollen like a pig's head, sending her crashing to the ground. He looked down at Chen Yuan, sneering. Chen Yuan, do you know? I really wanted to beat both of you to death with one punch. But I held back because I want you to see who I, Lin Chuan, will become. I want you to regret betraying me for the rest of your life. With that, Lin Chuan turned to leave. But just then, a Rolls-Royce stopped in front of him. Lin Chuan was surprised, not expecting Jiang Lang's people to arrive so quickly. Fine. Today, he would take the opportunity to vent his anger. However, the car door opened, and someone immediately stepped out and knelt before him with a thud. It was Tanggua's secretary. Tears filled her eyes as she cried and pleaded. Mr. Lin, please forgive me. Save my life, come back to the hospital with me, our miss. Lin Chuan's expression changed. Has Miss Tang encountered something? Hurry. Take me back. He jumped into the car and left immediately. Meanwhile, Chen Yuan stood frozen, stunned. What's going on? That useless Lin Chuan was picked up by a Rolls-Royce. Impossible. This can't be real. Chapter 5, Miss Tang is fine. Just as the secretary was about to explain, Lin Chuan interrupted her. Don't worry. If anything happens to Miss Tang, I'll take full responsibility. Throughout the ride, Lin Chuan didn't listen to the secretary's explanation, only urging the driver to go faster. When they arrived at the hospital room, Lin Chuan gathered his courage and opened the door. He pushed the door open with one hand, but upon seeing the empty room, his heart sank. Could it be that he was too late? Lin Chuan felt a surge of regret. If only he had focused more on his training, instead of rushing to treat Tanggua, would things have turned out differently? A mix of emotions flooded his heart. Miss Tang, it's all my fault. But at that moment, he suddenly felt a tap on his shoulder. He instinctively turned around. It was none other than Tanggua herself. She was wearing a pure white dress, her slender ankles exposed and her arms smooth and fair. With a sweet smile, she looked at Lin Chuan with eyes full of warmth. Lin Chuan froze for a long moment. Miss Tang, you're all right. Tanggua smiled and nodded. Thanks to your treatment, I'm completely recovered. Look. She spun around in front of him, and the white dress fluttered gracefully as she twirled. Tanggua's eyes were filled with a gentle, captivating smile. For the first time in 3 years, Tanggua stood up. She was so excited, walking around the hospital for a long time. But her body was still weak, and after only a few turns, she stumbled and nearly fell into Lin Chuan's arms. Lin Chuan acted swiftly, grabbing her wrist with one hand and pulling her into his embrace with the other, holding her steady. At that moment, their bodies were so close that the atmosphere between them became delicate and charged. Tanggua's beauty was soft yet seductive, a rare kind of charm that few women possessed. Lin Chuan, who had never been overly obsessed with love, couldn't help but feel a stir in his heart. And Tanggua. For 3 years, she had lived either on a sickbed or in a wheelchair, with her very survival a luxury. Now, Lin Chuan not only saved her life, but also gave her a new beginning. His regained confidence, boosted by the Lin family's legacy, radiated from his eyes. Moreover, the faint fragrance emanating from him made Tanggua's heart race. It was a scent she had never encountered in anyone else, one that made her feel a tickling sensation all over, as if ants were crawling over her skin. Just as the atmosphere between them grew increasingly intimate, the hospital door suddenly slammed open. A person fell to the ground with a loud thud and crawled into the room. It was the secretary. Covered in blood, with a broken nose and twisted legs, her clothes were dirty and disheveled. She immediately collapsed to the floor and begged pitifully. Mr. Lin, please, I beg you, spare my life. I won't do it again, I swear. Lin Chuan was shocked. What happened? Tanggua remained calm. Someone drag her out. She then explained to Lin Chuan, this person went against my wishes, and most importantly, she hurt you. I gave her a small punishment. Looking at the secretary's disabled legs and her painful struggle on the ground, Lin Chuan swallowed. Small punishment. 2 bodyguards rushed in and immediately lifted the secretary up. Tanggua, with a neutral expression, said, "Can't you even teach someone a lesson properly?" The bodyguards quickly bowed in apology. Sorry, miss, it won't happen again. The secretary, seeing that she was about to be dragged away, let out a desperate scream. Miss! Mr. Lin, please! I beg you, spare me! Lin Chuan couldn't bear it. Miss Tang, let's just forget about it. Tang Guo looked up at him, her gaze softening for a moment. Are you sure? This person almost hurt you. Lin Chuan took a deep breath. She's been punished enough. Upon hearing this, Tang Guo didn't say anything further. Let her go. Thank you, miss. Thank you, miss. The secretary trembled, bowing repeatedly. Go. Tang Guo waved her hand dismissively. The secretary quickly fled with the bodyguards, leaving the room. Tang Guo looked at Lin Chuan gently and said softly, Lin Chuan, I hope you understand one thing, he who hesitates is lost. If you want, I can do anything for you, make anyone disappear. For a moment, Lin Chuan thought of Chen Yuan. He silently clenched his fists, then released them. This was his own matter. Even if it meant killing them, he would do it himself. How could he let Miss Tang get her hands dirty? He spoke softly, Thank you, Miss Tang. Seeing that he wouldn't say anything further, Tang Guo didn't press him. In fact, she had countless questions she wanted to ask Lin Chuan. She wondered how he had been living these years, how he had offended others, and was especially curious about where his medical skills had come from. According to her investigation, his ancestors were skilled in medicine, but by the time it reached him, such talent had almost disappeared. However, before she could ask, Lin Chuan spoke first. Miss Tang, please extend your hand. Tang Guo was taken aback but still obediently extended her hand. Lin Chuan carefully examined her once again and finally sighed in relief. Miss Tang, your body has completely recovered. You just need to rest for a few more days, and you'll be as good as new. Tang Guo's eyes were filled with shock. As good as new. For 3 years, she had dreamt of this day. Thank you, Lin Chuan, she said with a tone full of excitement. Lin Chuan smiled and waved his hand. Miss Tang, I should be the one thanking you. If it weren't for you, I might have already been dead. Upon hearing this, Tang Guo's eyes softened with a trace of tenderness. The two of them chatted for a long time, and Lin Chuan recounted the story of how he had been injured while saving someone 3 years ago. Tang Guo froze, realizing that Lin Chuan didn't seem to recognize her as the girl he had saved. She suddenly felt a bit nervous. Lin Chuan, you saved that person, but you ended up in this miserable state, and yet the person you saved never came to thank you. Don't you hate her? Don't you regret it? Lin Chuan was stunned for a moment, then answered without thinking, no. Why not? She ruined your life. Lin Chuan smiled and shook his head. Why should I hate her? That girl didn't come back to thank me, but she must have had her own difficulties. I didn't save her for gratitude. If I had seen someone in need and didn't help, that's when I would truly regret it for the rest of my life. Tang Guo stared at Lin Chuan, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. She had never met anyone like Lin Chuan. Meeting him was undoubtedly the luckiest thing in her life. He was the benefactor who had saved her life. Tears welled up in her eyes, and her heart overflowed with gratitude. Seeing Tang Guo in this state, Lin Chuan felt a bit nervous. Miss Tang, did I say something wrong? Tang Guo gazed at him intently and said excitedly, Lin Chuan, take a good look. Do you know who I am? Even Lin Chuan, who wasn't the sharpest, began to catch on. He looked at her in shock. Could it be? Are you the girl from 3 years ago? Yes, Tang Guo nodded furiously, her eyes filled with guilt. Lin Chuan let out a long breath and smiled. If you're still alive, then I can rest easy. All the pain I endured these 3 years was worth it. 3 years ago, he had saved that girl, but he never knew if she had survived. Now, knowing she was not only alive but standing right in front of him, Lin Chuan felt a wave of relief wash over him. As long as he had saved a life, the wounds he had suffered for the past 3 years were worth it. Hearing this, Tang Guo couldn't hold back any longer. Tears streamed down her face as she threw herself into Lin Chuan's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. It was unclear how long she cried, but eventually, Tang Guo pulled herself up from Lin Chuan's embrace. Her face was flushed, and it took a while for her to calm down. Then, nervously, she said, You haven't eaten all day, have you? Let me treat you to a meal. Let us go to Fushan Lu. Lin Chuan quickly waved his hand when he heard this. Fushan Lu was the most luxurious restaurant in Yarn City, bar none. Many celebrities wanted to dine there but couldn't get a reservation. It was said that the service fee alone cost over 100,000. This is too much, Miss Tang. I'll be fine with just a simple meal, like some boxed food, he said. Tangwa pouted. If my benefactor has to eat boxed food, I won't be able to rest easy for the rest of my life. Listen to me, I've already made a reservation. Do you want me to pay a cancellation fee instead? That. Just listen, she smiled as she took his hand. Let us go now. All right. The two of them left the hospital room. On their way, Tangwa didn't stop talking. Anyone who knew her would be astonished. Tangwa, the daughter of the Tang family, known for her stern demeanor and ruthless methods, was now chatting away like a schoolgirl in love. By the way, from now on, don't call me Miss Tang anymore. It sounds too formal. Just call me Tangwa. Lin Chuan nodded. All right, Tangwa. Do you have a place to stay? Not yet, for now. Perfect. I have an empty house. It's yours. This is too much. You've already helped me so much. It'll be a waste if it stays empty. Just take it. All right then. As they were talking, they reached the entrance of the hospital. But at that moment, a group of people suddenly rushed toward them. Lin Chuan quickly shielded Tangwa behind him, but by the time he turned, they were surrounded. The man at the front sized him up and sneered. So, you're Lin Chuan. Chapter 6 First Encounter with Mr. Shen. Lin Chuan recognized the identity of the person at a glance. This guy is Jiang Lang's cousin, Jiang Bo, who was a gangster in Yancheng. When he worked in the hospital, he had seen him many times, and each time it was because of a fight. The reason why Jiang Lang could be so rampant was mostly because of his cousin who was a gangster. Lin Chuan didn't expect them to come so quickly. He protected Tangwa with one hand and said calmly. Tangwa, these guys are here to find me, you go first. Tangwa felt warm in her heart. She didn't expect that when she encountered danger, Lin Chuan would consider herself first. Why do these people come to trouble you? It's a long story. You go upstairs first. Lin Chuan smiled bitterly and shook his head. He didn't know how to talk to Tangwa about his unbearable experience. At this time, two more vans drove up, and more than a dozen people got off, completely blocking all the roads. Jiang Bo looked Lin Chuan up and down. He asked arrogantly, "You beat my cousin." Lin Chuan said calmly, "Your cousin deserved to be beaten." Jiang Bo's eyes lit up. "Boy, you dare to talk to me like this, I admire your courage, so, kneel down and kowtow to me, I will record a video for my cousin, and this matter will be over." Lin Chuan said fearlessly, "It was your cousin who provoked first, he should apologize, not me." Jiang Bo's smile gradually faded. "Stinky boy, don't refuse to drink the toast." At the same time, Jiang Bo's men were also very agitated. "Brother, this kid is too arrogant, let me chop off his legs." "Cut him off, you don't want to be treated." Lin Chuan sneered, he knew what these bastards were. They are arrogant and domineering on weekdays, and this is how they bully people. Even if I kneel down and kowtow to apologize obediently, they will never let me go, but will make it worse. Bullying the weak and fearing the strong is their style. At this moment, the noise downstairs also attracted the attention of the patients. Not far away, in the pavilion of the hospital garden, two men, one old and one young, were watching this farce. The old man had a fairy-like appearance, with a straight and tough back, and he was a martial artist at first glance. The young man silently helped the old man peel the oranges, and looked at him from time to time. The old man spoke with some appreciation. "This young man is good, neither humble nor arrogant, he is a talent." Talking about the gangsters opposite, his eyes were full of disdain. The gangsters in Guangzhou only know how to bully the weak with their numbers, a group of guys who bully the weak and fear the strong. "Do you want me to help?" the young man asked calmly. The old man shook his head. "Forget it, you can help him for a while, but not for a lifetime. Being beaten can also make him recognize the reality. It is a good virtue to be neither humble nor arrogant, but you must have strength to do so. You should still be submissive when you should be submissive." At the same time, Jiang Bo also lost his patience. "Okay, since you don't want to give me face, don't blame me for being ruthless. Go ahead and kill him." The younger brothers couldn't hold back any longer. In the blink of an eye, a man rushed to Lin Chuan and hit him with a stick. Lin Chuan was not afraid at all. He dodged slightly to the side, grabbed the stick he swung, and kicked him secretly. With just one kick, the guy was kicked 3 meters away and fell heavily to the ground. 2 more people came up. Lin Chuan casually brushed his palm across the abdomen of the 2 people. Only 2 bangs were heard. The 2 fell to the ground. She huddled up in pain and rolled on the ground in pain. Tangguo was a little surprised. She had been prepared for a long time. If Lin Chuan was really beaten, her bodyguards would come out to protect him immediately. But she could never have imagined that Lin Chuan could easily deal with the 3 people. Tangguo's bodyguards were even more shocked. With such skills, if Lin Chuan had fought back, they would not have been his opponent. Now everyone admired Lin Chuan even more, their eyes full of gratitude. In the hospital pavilion. Seeing this, the old man stood up suddenly. "What a fast punch," he said in surprise. "If this young man had met me 20 years ago, he would have been the current god of war. If he had met me 10 years ago, his name would have been on the list of gods. What a pity." But the young man noticed behind Lin Chuan. "Dad, look who that is." The old man looked carefully in the direction of his finger and was immediately shocked. "Tang family. Why is she here?" At this moment, at the entrance of the hospital, just as Jiangbo reacted, he saw that his 3 younger brothers were all knocked down. He was extremely angry. "You dare to resist? I must make you die here today." As soon as he finished speaking, he heard a female voice behind Lin Chuan. "Let's see who dares to touch him." The person who spoke was Tangguo. She reacted and naturally would not let her savior fall into danger. Tangguo was wearing a white dress at this time, with fair skin and beautiful appearance, and a gentle body. Jiangbo's eyes were straightened instantly. "Little girl, you want to save him?" "Sure. As long as you agree to my request, I will let Lin Chuan go." After saying that, he smiled and threw the dagger at Tangguo's feet. "Use this knife to tear off your skirt for me. Let me see if the underwear you are wearing is white or pink, and I will let him go." A trace of murderous intent flashed in Lin Chuan's eyes instantly. "Fuck you." He suddenly made a move and kicked Jiangbo 10 meters away. Jiangbo had no reaction. He was kicked in the chest and flew backwards and smashed a bunch of trash cans. Oh. The intense pain made his whole body tremble uncontrollably. The other brothers rushed forward in panic. Brother, are you okay?" Everyone dragged Jiangbo out by force. Jiangbo looked at Lin Chuan in disbelief, his eyes filled with anger. "Come on together. Kill him." As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt his shoulders sink. A voice came from his ear. "If you don't want to die, tell your men to stop." He turned around and saw an old man of about 1.8 meters with his hand on his shoulder. The dry and thin arm seemed to have 1,000 pounds of strength. Jiangbo wanted to move, but he couldn't move at all. "Old man, let go quickly." "Asshole, take a closer look, who is he?" A young voice sounded behind him. Jiangbo looked up and took a closer look, and his face changed instantly. But the gangsters under his command had already come to the old man and shouted. "Old man, do you know who our boss is, Jiangbo? He is the most powerful person in Yancheng. If you don't let go, I will break your legs. Break your mother." "Shut up." Jiangbo slapped the younger brother with his backhand. The younger brother was confused. He turned around and knelt on the ground with a plop, crying, "I didn't recognize you. I deserve to die, I deserve to die. If you recognize who I am, do you need me to tell you what to do? I'll get out of here." Jiangbo wanted to run away immediately. "Wait. You want to let it go after harassing my friends here?" Jiangbo was shocked after hearing this. "He is your friend." But he didn't dare to ask more. Instead, he knelt down to Lin Chuan immediately. "Brother Lin Chuan, I am blind and I bullied you. Just treat me as a fart and let me go." Mr. Shen said suddenly, leading the trouble. "Just apologize and forget it." Jiangbo trembled, but in order to survive, he could only pick up the stick beside him and smash his finger. With a muffled bang, his little finger was smashed into a bloody red. Jiangbo was sweating profusely, and said with pain, "Are you satisfied?" The old man nodded. "Get out." He dared to get up and fled the scene with his brothers. Seeing everyone leave, the young man supported the old man and came to Tangguo. The old man smiled and said, Miss Tang, why didn't you inform me that you are here so that I can welcome you? Tangwa smiled and said, I heard that Uncle Shen was sick, so I didn't bother you. Hey, it's normal for old people to get sick, but you are. The old man looked Tangwa up and down, and said in surprise, Miss Tang's complexion has recovered so well, could it be that the poison has been cured? Yes. I'm already cured. Tangwa smiled and pointed at Lin Chuan, it's all thanks to him, he gave me a second life. The old man was stunned. Him. Following the direction of her finger, the old man looked at Lin Chuan. He had just completely ignored Lin Chuan. Unexpectedly, he was Tangwa's benefactor. He looked Lin Chuan up and down, and immediately a look of understanding appeared on his face. He guessed. This Lin Chuan must have a close relationship with Tangwa. This is very normal. Those young masters are also surrounded by women, and the eldest lady of the Tang family naturally cannot lack men. As for the claim that Lin Chuan saved Tangwa, he didn't believe it. He knew how serious Tangwa's illness was. How could a young boy have such ability? Tangwa was just flattering him. The guy who really cured the disease and saved the life was probably the super doctor from the hidden clan. Thinking of this, he sighed in his heart. Such a person could only be invited by the Tang family. He. The old man chuckled, but in order not to offend Miss Tang, he still extended his hand to Lin Chuan. Hello, my name is Shen Weisu. Lin Chuan also silently extended his hand. My name is Lin Chuan. The old man thought for a moment, but couldn't think of any famous family with the surname Lin. As expected, this Lin Chuan was probably Tangwa's male lover. Miss Tang, since you are here, I would like to do my best to treat you to a meal. What do you think? Of course, you can set a date and I will be there. Why set a date? It's better to do it today. Today. Tangwa looked at Lin Chuan and nodded with a smile. Okay. This Shen Weisu is a celebrity in Yancheng. If he can get to know Lin Chuan, it will also help Lin Chuan's career. Chapter 7 Lin Chuan, what do you mean? The young man hurriedly persuaded Shen Weisu, Dad, how can your body go out? It's okay. Shen Weisu said with a smile, just call my exclusive doctor. But. No buts, let's do it. Hearing this, the young man shook his head helplessly. Everyone got in the car and left. At the same time, the group of people with severed fingers who got in the car had slipped away a few kilometers away. In the car, Jiangbo still looked frightened. The younger brother beside him was very confused. Brother, why are you afraid of him? I can beat that old man with one punch. Why run away? Jiangbo looked horrified and said in fear, if you keep talking nonsense, I will cut off your tongue. You know nothing. Do you know who he is? The younger brothers looked at each other. Who is it? Jiangbo took a deep breath and said tremblingly, that's the Shen family. It's understandable that you don't know the old man, but you must know his son. Everyone swallowed their saliva and looked at the eldest brother nervously. Order War God Shen too. Everyone couldn't help but take a breath after hearing this. Everyone understood why he was afraid. The super war god who led 100,000 soldiers was actually the son of this old man. Jiangbo knew it well. The whole Shen family was very scary. Isn't Lin Chuan a loser? How can a guy who doesn't even dare to say a word when his wife cheated on him get involved with the Shen family? A younger brother hurriedly said, it may not be him, but the woman behind him. When I was leaving, I saw that the old man seemed to say hello to that woman. Jiangbo said with fear, don't care who it is, I won't wade into this muddy water. If my distant cousin comes to me again in the future, I will say that I have cut off all ties with him. I will never help him again. This time only a finger was broken, but next time it may be a head. This Lin Chuan must not be offended. Half an hour later, the group arrived at Fushan building. Among these people, except Lin Chuan, one is the head of the Shen family and the other is the eldest daughter of the Tang family. With their status and financial resources, the manager didn't even dare to ask more questions and directly invited them to sit in the top box of Fushan building. Seeing this scene, Lin Chuan felt mixed emotions. He didn't ask about Tangwa's identity. But being able to sit on equal footing with such an old man and talk and laugh with him, Tangwa's status must be something he could only dream of. However, he did not feel inferior. He now had mastered the Lin family's inheritance, but he was not proficient in it yet. But when he fully mastered it and became proficient, he would definitely be able to rebuild the Lin family. He could be respected by thousands of people without anyone's support. Not long after the four of them sat down, the food came one after another. Shin Waisu laughed and said, "Today's specifications are based on the best of Fushinlu. You two must eat and drink well. That's for sure. It's not easy to meet Uncle Shin's treat. I must eat more today." Tanghua smiled sweetly. Shin Waisu moved his eyes to Lin Chuan. "Young man, you should not have been to such a place before." Lin Chuan nodded. "Never been here. Why haven't I heard your name before? Did you come from Beijing with Tanghua?" "No, my family is in Yancheng." Hearing this, Shin Waisu looked surprised. "Yancheng, what do you do?" "I used to be a doctor in a hospital." Shin Waisu pondered for a moment and said, "There are too few people with the surname Lin in Yancheng. I guess there is only that family whose name can be mentioned." "Are you a descendant of the Yancheng Lin family?" "That's right." Lin Chuan nodded. Hearing this, Shin Weisho's eyes flashed with contempt. When he was young, the Lin family was so powerful. It's a pity that this family just eats and waits for death, and has squandered all the assets left by their ancestors. He said calmly, "My hometown was flooded and the farmland was harvested. I fled to Yancheng to beg for food, and I received charity from your Lin family." Before Lin Chuan answered, Tanghua said in surprise, "That's what happened?" "Yes." Shin Waisu smiled and said, "At that time, the young master gave me 10 silver dollars. You know, in that era, our family only earned 5 silver dollars from growing grain for a year. Relying on these 10 silver dollars, I survived in those years, and I also watched the Lin family indulge in extravagance and waste their ancestral business, and finally sold their property and disappeared completely." Shin Waisu confirmed his thoughts. The reason why Lin Chuan was able to waste this extraordinary talent was all because of the Lin family. This group of Lin family members only knew how to eat, drink and have fun, and they lived off their savings. I guess Lin Chuan is also such a person. How could a guy who is used to having everything he wants endure hardships to practice? Lin Chuan must be that kind of person, who is willing to be the young lady's male favorite for money. Tanghua was very happy and was about to match the two of them so that Lin Chuan and Shin Waisu could have a good relationship. Unexpectedly, Shin Waisu said immediately, "But I owed the Lin family a favor, and I have already repaid it. When their family was on the verge of bankruptcy, I lent them money so that they could do some small business to survive. I never expected that they would spend the money I lent them for business on eating, drinking and having fun. I don't have a good impression of the Lin family. They are a group of people who live off the land and are simply the biggest termites in Yancheng." Lin Chuan said calmly, "Not all the people in the Lin family are the kind of people you said." Shin Waisu laughed, "I think you are that kind of person." The atmosphere suddenly fell into an awkward atmosphere. Tanghua quickly tried to smooth things over. "Uncle Shin, do you remember how serious my illness was when you saw me a few years ago? Thanks to Lin Chuan, he cured my illness with just one injection. Why don't you let him take a look at your illness?" Shin Waisu laughed and said, "I don't think it's necessary. The treatment plans given to me by so many top Western doctors are good enough. I don't need Chinese medicine acupuncture. It sounds unreliable." Lin Chuan was calm. "You may be good at fighting, but you are absolutely ignorant of medical skills. The doctor who prescribed you a medical plan is completely fooling around. In less than 3 days, you will die of poisoning due to the wrong treatment method." Har har, it seems that little friend Lin Chuan is really amazing. He can tell how many days I can live just by looking at me. I'm afraid that even those Chinese medicine experts can't do this. Lin Chuan looked indifferent. Of course they can't do it. Young people are so arrogant. It's normal to be a little arrogant after mastering some knowledge, but if you think you know everything after mastering a little knowledge and force yourself to show off, it's very dangerous. Shin Waisu was already very unhappy with Lin Chuan. But as an elder, he only warned Lin Chuan lightly, also to avoid embarrassing Tanghua. Even a clay Buddha has a little temper, not to mention that he belittled his family so much. Facing Shin Weisho's murderous look, Lin Chuan was not afraid at all and looked into his eyes. Tanghua helplessly held his forehead. These two guys have the same temper, and no one is willing to say a soft word. Just when the atmosphere was extremely awkward, the door of the box was suddenly pushed open. I saw a manager in a suit, holding a plate in front of them. He said excitedly, Mr. Shen, knowing that you are here, I will quickly ask the chef to hurry up and cook so that you can eat your favorite dish as soon as possible. After that, he personally brought the dish to the table. Tang Guo was curious and took a closer look. She found that it was actually a stewed ginseng pufferfish porridge. Shen Weishou's eyes lit up immediately, and his displeasure just now was swept away. Manager Wang, you understand me. Thank you. Oh, Mr. Shen, you are too kind. It is my honor to see you eat well. Please eat slowly. I will not disturb you. The manager left after saying that. When Shen Weishu saw the dish served, he did not care about arguing with Lin Chuan. He picked up the spoon and prepared to eat. But at this moment, Lin Chuan's voice sounded again. If you eat this bite, your son can prepare a coffin for you. Shen Weishou's face turned cold and he slammed the chopsticks on the table. Lin Chuan, what do you mean? Chapter 8 3 Needles to Save a Life. Tang Guo quickly waved her hand and said, Uncle Shen, Lin Chuan is talking nonsense, you can eat it without worry. Shen Weishu was not willing to give in, and looked at Lin Chuan and said, I ask you, is this puffer fish poisonous? Not poisonous. Is the meat not cooked? It's cooked. Then why do you say that people can prepare coffins after eating it? It's not someone else, it's you. Your body's qi and blood are very weak. Puffer fish is cold, and ginseng is hot. Add the two together and stew them in soup. It's poison to you. It's okay to eat it once in a while, but you should eat it every day. So, today's bowl will be your last meal. Hearing this, Shen Weishu laughed out loud. Unheard of, unheard of. This is the first time I heard that puffer fish is cold. These Chinese medicine things can fool other people, but they can't fool me. I'll eat it now, I won't die. You die. Just as he was about to swallow a mouthful, the young man next to him stopped him. Why don't we wait for the special care doctor to come and let them take a look before we eat? Shenting? You don't believe me either. It's not that I don't believe you, but, be careful. Shenting had a complicated expression. He didn't believe Lin Chuan's words, but he didn't dare to take the risk. Shen Weishu snorted, stood up and walked to the hall, scanned everyone, and said loudly, Who is a doctor here? I am. Mr. Shen, what can I do for you? Everyone who eats here knows who Shen Weishu is. As soon as he finished speaking, 7 or 8 doctors stood up. Mr. Shen asked loudly. Come, take a look. Is this puffer fish porridge poisonous? Will I die if I drink it? A gentleman with glasses looked down, smiled and shook his head and said, Not only is it not poisonous, it can also prolong life and nourish the body. Shen Weishu smiled and said, Who are you, brother? The man quickly bowed and said, I am the vice president of Yancheng First Hospital. Okay. Shen Weishu turned his head to look at the box and sneered, Isn't the vice president of Yancheng First Hospital better than you? The vice president smiled slightly. Does this young friend have other opinions? He said this porridge is poison, and you will die if you eat it. Shen Weishu said sarcastically. As soon as this remark came out, everyone present laughed. This porridge has been sold in this store for decades, and I have never heard of anyone being poisoned. Is our porridge poisonous? This debate also attracted the manager. The manager said with a smile, It seems that this gentleman is not confident about the hygiene of our restaurant. So, whether it is poisonous or not, I can just try it. After that, he tried a bite. Half a minute later, he said calmly, Now you can rest assured. Or do you think it will take a few hours? A few days? A few years for the poison to take effect? Everyone laughed. How could this thing be poisonous? The manager's words were nothing more than a mockery of the young man in the box. Tang Guo's face was slightly cold. It was indeed Lin Chuan who did something wrong, but these guys mocked Lin Chuan so much that she was really upset. If it was someone else who was causing trouble today, she would definitely overturn the table on the spot and let this restaurant close down. Just when she wanted to step forward to refute everyone, Lin Chuan gently patted her leg. He said, If Shen Weishu really died of illness here, would you be in trouble? Tang Guo shook her head. No, no one in Yancheng dares to embarrass me. Okay. Lin Chuan nodded slightly. At this time, Shen Weishu also returned to the box. The atmosphere just now made him particularly excited, his face was ruddy, and he was extremely proud. Lin Chuan, I want to eat now. Lin Chuan said indifferently, Good words can't persuade the damn ghost, just eat it. Shen Weisu smiled contemptuously and didn't argue with him. Instead, he directly filled a bowl of porridge again, scooped it up with a spoon and put it into his mouth. The warm porridge has a dense texture, the puffer fish meat is soft and elastic, and the aroma is fragrant. He drank the porridge in one gulp and then breathed a sigh of relief. Not bad, this porridge is still as delicious as before. He put the bowl on the table and asked proudly, Lin Chuan, didn't you say that I would die without a doubt if I ate this bowl of porridge, but now I'm still alive and well, what do you say? Lin Chuan said calmly, don't worry. Shen Weisu said disdainfully, Mies Tanggua, I advise you to stay away from this kind of people, except for cheating, deceiving. Before he finished speaking, his hands were on the table. At this moment, he felt a cramp in his abdomen, sweat on his forehead, and his legs were shaking. Originally, he wanted to hold on, but 2 seconds later, he felt his heart was torn, and it seemed as if a centipede was gnawing at his whole body. Help! Shinting realized that something was wrong and just wanted to get up to help, but it was too late. Shen Weisu screamed and fell heavily on the table, and then his body slid to the ground like a puddle of mud. Dad! Shinting immediately rushed to Shen Weisu. At this time, Shen Weisu was already on the verge of death. Where are those doctors just now? Come and save him! Everyone was dumbfounded and rushed over. But after everyone finished the examination, they were dumbfounded. All the foundations of Western medicine rely on instruments. Without instruments, they can't do anything. There were a few Chinese medicine practitioners at the scene, but when they saw Shen Weishu's appearance, they didn't dare to get close to him anymore. In this situation, even gods can't help. Those who don't want to cause trouble have even paid and left. The most terrified person is the manager. This guy is completely scared. If Mr. Shen dies here, he can't be a manager anymore. If that Shen 2 comes back from the front, he will be dead. At this time, a group of doctors are helpless, and Shen Ting suddenly thinks of someone. He immediately turned to look at Lin Chuan. Mr. Lin, can you save my dad? If you cure my dad, I, Shen Ting, will be willing to work hard to repay you in the future. Lin Chuan glanced around and said sarcastically, didn't these doctors just say that it's okay to eat it, and it can also prolong your life? You should go to them, why me? When these words came out, the doctors were ashamed. As doctors, they don't know as much as a young man. Lin Chuan's words also reminded them that it was these guys who instigated Mr. Shen to drink the puffer fish porridge. If Mr. Shen was in trouble, they would not be able to escape responsibility. Everyone hurriedly flattered, little genius doctor, please forgive us. We are short-sighted and have offended you just now. Please forgive us and treat us. Lin Chuan said indifferently, it's not difficult to save him. 3 injections can solve the problem. It's a pity. I don't want to save him. Everyone was shocked. This condition is so serious, and he actually said that 3 injections can cure it. But after what happened just now, no one dared to refute Lin Chuan anymore. Shen Ting was particularly anxious, but he also knew that it was useless to ask Lin Chuan, so he turned to look at Tanggua. Miss Tang, do you still remember that when you were a kid, you were kidnapped by gangsters? My dad personally led people to rescue you, and his arm was cut by a machete. There is still a scar now. My elder brother Shen 2 is still your good friend. When you were a kid, he would rather be beaten than buy you delicious food as long as you asked. Tanggua had a complicated expression. Shen Weisu did do him a favor. Their family and the Shen family were not enemies. Shen Weisu was even a good friend of her father. But Tanggua was unwilling to force Lin Chuan. She remained silent and had made her choice with her actions. Shen Ting had no choice but to plead, Dr. Lin. Lin Chuan sighed. He didn't want to really watch Shen Weisu die. After all, his death would not benefit anyone. He just wanted to let these guys know who was the truly arrogant one. He came to Shen Weisu and said to the doctors who were at a loss, get the silver needle. Everyone was stunned. I asked you to get the silver needles. Do you really want Shen Weisu to die? Shen Ting finally reacted, his face was ecstatic, and he bowed to thank him. Thank you, thank you. Then he anxiously shouted, needles. Who has silver needles? Needles, here you go. The vice president handed the silver needles to Lin Chuan respectfully. Shen Ting stepped aside and watched the scene nervously. Lin Chuan glanced at everyone, get out of the way. Everyone stepped back quickly, and Lin Chuan quickly lifted Shen Weishou's clothes. He silently recited the mental method, aimed at the chest, found the acupuncture point, and stabbed it with a needle. The tip of the needle sank into the skin for a full inch before stopping. Lin Chuan's fingers trembled slightly, and Shen Weishou's face actually turned red. At this moment, the vice president looked at Lin Chuan with shock. He recognized this acupuncture method, which was actually the lost Lin sect acupuncture method. At this moment, Lin Chuan shouted again, "Bring another needle." The vice president did not dare to neglect it, half-crouched beside Lin Chuan, and handed him the needle. The others also quieted down. They knew the mystery of Lin Chuan's acupuncture, and they wanted to open their eyes wide and remember every detail of his acupuncture. The acupuncture in the box continued. Although Shen Weishou did not wake up, his breath was stable, and he only needed the last needle that Lin Chuan said to wake him up. Everyone held their breath and waited patiently. Tangua's eyes were full of curiosity. Lin Chuan really had too many secrets. However, at this moment, there was a noise outside the box. I only heard the sound of high heels, followed by a roar. "Shenting! Where are you? Come out to see me." Chapter 9: The Unruly Miss. What happened outside? Shenting frowned. The manager hurriedly said, "It's Mr. Shen's daughter, Shen Junyu." Hearing this, Shenting suddenly felt a headache. Shen Junyu was arrogant and arbitrary, and she would not listen to anyone. If she was allowed to come in, it would be a mess. But just as he was about to go out to stop her, he saw Shen Junyu had already arrived at the door. The man next to her was Shen Weishou's exclusive doctor, and the previous prescriptions were all written by him. "How is my father?" "He suddenly fainted after eating puffer fish porridge, and he is still not conscious now." Shen Junyue's face suddenly turned cold, and she pointed at the manager's nose and cursed loudly. "If anything happens to my father, I will definitely drag you to be buried with him." The manager was scolded and could only bow his head and admit his mistake. Shenting couldn't stand it anymore and said, "It has nothing to do with the hotel." "It has nothing to do with the hotel? Then it has something to do with you, right? Shenting, I've seen that you are not a good person. You didn't send my father to the hospital when he was in trouble, and you didn't notify me. You actually let him wait to die here? I'll settle accounts with you later." As she was about to rush in, Shenting immediately stopped her. "My father has been rescued, so don't go in and make trouble." "Make trouble? My father is unconscious now. Who knows if you guys deliberately hurt him? I'm going to go in and see what happened to my father." Shenting wanted to say something else, but the private doctor of the Shen family reached out to stop him. "Shenting, don't worry. I'm a doctor who graduated from a foreign royal academy. If there is really someone saving people inside, I can see it at a glance, and I will definitely not let Miss Shen do anything reckless." Hearing this, Shenting had to give up, but his face was still worried. Without Shenting's obstruction, Shen Junyu kicked open the door of the box and walked straight in. When she came in and took a look, her eyes suddenly went dark. She saw that Shen Weishou's chest was open, with 2 silver needles inserted on it. The silver needles of more than 10 centimeters were nearly 2/3 into Shen's chest. She was frightened. Seeing that Lin Chuan actually wanted to stab a silver needle into Shen Weishou's chest, Shen Junyu was immediately angry. "Stop it." She grabbed Lin Chuan's hand and said with a fierce look in her eyes, "How dare you harm my father?" The vice president who had witnessed the whole process hurriedly explained, "Mr. Lin is saving people." "Save people? Do you use needles to stab the heart to save people? You think I don't understand medicine, right?" Lin Chuan ignored her, but when he was about to finish the last needle, Shen Junyu suddenly hit his hand. With a click, the tiny silver needle broke into 2 pieces. At this moment, Lin Chuan looked up at Shen Junyu. He said coldly, "Do you want to kill him?" Shen Junyu shouted, "I want to kill him. You put such a long needle into my father, I think you want to kill him." Lin Chuan frowned slightly. "This is called acupuncture. I am saving people by doing this." Hearing acupuncture, Dr. Cao behind Shen Junyu sneered. "Acupuncture to save lives? This is the first time I've heard of it. Which hospital are you from?" "I don't work in the hospital anymore." "What? Shenting, you actually let this kind of person treat my father? How did my father offend you that you actually want to harm him like this?" "Shut up," Shenting said angrily. "If you want to make trouble, go somewhere else and don't delay Mr. Lin from saving people." "Shenting, How dare you yell at me? What do you mean I'm making trouble? It's obviously you guys who are in collusion to harm my father. Shinting just felt a headache and ignored the young lady, but turned to look at Lin Chuan. Mr. Lin, how is my dad now? One more injection is needed to heal him. Hearing this, Shinting said guiltily, Mr. Lin, it's my fault. I will prepare silver needles for you now. You still want to inject? I don't think my dad is sick at all. If he is sick, it's you who injected him. Lin Chuan laughed angrily, Miss, if you really don't trust my medical skills, I won't treat him. Mr. Lin. Shinting still wanted to keep him. Shin Junyu sneered, stop right there. You made my dad unconscious, and now you want to run away before he wakes up. It's not that easy. Har har. Lin Chuan looked at her and deeply understood what it meant to be unreasonable. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have seen your father for the last time. You're blaming me. Shinting said irritably, Shin Junyu, this matter has nothing to do with Mr. Lin, he was saving people. Who knows if you two have colluded, who can testify? Everyone said, I can testify. This matter really has nothing to do with Mr. Lin was saving people. Yes, and thanks to Mr. Lin, otherwise Mr. Shin's life would be in danger. Hearing this, Shin Juanyue's face was gloomy. Dr. Cao, please check it yourself and see if it's the same as what they said. Mr. Shin's personal doctor nodded slightly, came to Mr. Shin's side, and after a simple examination, he said, Mr. Shin's body is fine, but he has consumed too much physical energy and can't wake up now. Shin Junyu breathed a sigh of relief, but then changed the subject. But who can guarantee that he cured it? Maybe my father was fine to begin with, but they lied and said he was seriously ill, taking the opportunity to harm my father. When these words came out, everyone shook their heads and sighed. Lin Chuan laughed in anger. Since you don't trust me, I'll just leave. You'd better get out of here. Don't let me see you again. Lin Chuan turned and left without saying anything. Tang Guo watched this farce and felt disappointed with the family. Seeing Lin Chuan leave, she got up and followed him. Shinting was extremely anxious, Mr. Lin. Hey! Miss Tang! Seeing the two of them leave without looking back, he stamped his feet in anger. Shin Junyu, you! What do you mean by you? If I hadn't arrived in time, I'm afraid my father would have been murdered by you. Shinting shook his head, speechless, and hurried out. Lin Chuan had already gone out the door. Tang Guo followed him a few steps and patted him on the shoulder. Lin Chuan turned his head and saw Tang Guo smile, and his anger was mostly gone. I'm really sorry. I couldn't help it and made things difficult for you. How could that be? Tang Guo said with a smile, you did the right thing. Such a person is not worth associating with. Lin Chuan felt even more guilty when he heard her words. What if the Shin family comes to you to ask for punishment because of this matter? Tang Guo said calmly, if they really come to me to ask for punishment and ask me to choose between you and the Shin family, then I will definitely choose you and cut off all ties with the Shin family. Hearing this, Lin Chuan couldn't help but take a deep breath. No one has ever cared about him so much. Tang Guo's affectionate expression touched him deeply. The depression just now was swept away in an instant. Just then, there was another sound of footsteps from behind. Mr. Lin. Walk slowly. He turned his head and saw Shinting chasing out of the door. Lin Chuan's face suddenly darkened. Anything else? Shinting came to Lin Chuan and bowed 90 degrees on the spot. Mr. Lin, I am sorry for you. You saved my dad, but my sister treated you like this. Mr. Lin, Shinting owes you a favor, and I will never forget it. From now on, as long as you ask, Shinting will die for you. Lin Chuan was a little stunned. But before he could react, Shinting took out a card from his pocket. Mr. Lin, I was in a hurry to go out, and I didn't have any cash on me. This is the Black Gold Dragon card. Seeing the card is like seeing each other. As long as it is my property, it will be free if you take out this card. My men can also be deployed at your will. Or you can ask me to go to help you in person, I will be there at your call. Lin Chuan wanted to ridicule him, but he never expected that Shinting's attitude was so good, which made him a little at a loss. Tang Guo gently pushed him. Lin Chuan came back to his senses. He really didn't want to get entangled with the Shin family anymore, so he put the card in his pocket. Okay, I'll take this card, and no one will owe anyone in the future. After saying that, he turned around and wanted to leave. Shinting quickly asked, Mr. Lin, I want to ask about my father's health. Although he has not recovered, as long as the 2 silver needles are not moved, they will be removed after 7 days, and he does not take random medicines, it will be fine. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Shinting bowed to Lin Chuan again. Chapter 10 A Chance Meeting in the Market. Shinting returned to the box with a tired face, and saw Shin Junyu was actually about to pull out the silver needles from Mr. Shin's body. Stop. He was shocked and hurriedly stopped them. What are you doing? Of course I'm pulling out the needles. Shin Junyu sneered, are you waiting for this needle to harm my father? Hearing her words, Shinting hurriedly said, Mr. Lin said that only with this needle can my father's safety be guaranteed, and it must not be pulled out. The vice president who stood up before also dissuaded, pulling out the needle now will cost him his life, Miss Shin, you must be cautious. Even Dr. Cao did not agree to pull out the needles, but the reason he disagreed was that he felt that the 2 needles might have been inserted into the heart, and if they were pulled out rashly, it might cause heavy bleeding. Seeing that everyone was against it, Shin Junyu spread her hands. If you don't want to pull it out, then don't pull it out. You guys, help me carry my dad to the car. Hurry up. She directed everyone to carry Mr. Shin to the car. Everyone who came to Fushinlu for dinner was rich and powerful, but they didn't dare to say much to the little girl of the Shin family. A large group of people panted and carefully carried Mr. Shin to the car, but Shin Junyu drove away without a word of thanks. There were special instruments in the car, and Dr. Cao checked it carefully again. What surprised him was that although the 2 silver needles were inserted in the position of the heart and inserted nearly 8 centimeters, they cleverly avoided every vital point. If it wasn't for luck, then this can be said that Lin Chuan is really amazing. You know, even with the help of special instruments, he can't do this. Shin Junyu asked impatiently. Can these 2 needles be removed? Yes. Dr. Cao said with great certainty, these 2 needles did not touch their vital points. Pull them out. Dr. Cao nodded and pulled out the 2 silver needles directly. Originally, he did not believe in acupuncture, but the test results just now surprised him. He was also a little nervous, worried that if he pulled out the silver needles, something would really happen. But when the silver needles were pulled out, Mr. Shin had no reaction, which made him feel relieved. It seems that he just thought too much. That Lin Chuan is nothing, just bluffing. But he did not notice that at this moment, a black line suddenly appeared on Mr. Shin's wrist and went straight to his heart. At this moment, in Tangua's car, Tangua felt particularly guilty. I'm sorry, Lin Chuan. I was going to treat you to a meal, but it turned out like this. Lin Chuan shook his head and said, this has nothing to do with you. You don't have to blame yourself. How can that be possible? Let's go to another place. I know a restaurant with delicious food. I'll take you there. Just then, the secretary interrupted the 2 of them. Miss. Someone is coming from Beijing. Tangua frowned slightly, no matter who it is, let them wait. I don't have time to receive them today. Miss, it's your uncle. He heard that your condition has improved, so he came back from the border to see you in person. What? A hint of surprise flashed in Tangua's eyes, but after a moment, her delicate eyebrows frowned into a ball. Lin Chuan saw her look and knew that she was in a difficult situation, so he hurriedly said, Miss Tang, your family has come a long way to see you, you can't neglect them, you should go and accompany your uncle. What about this meal? Lin Chuan smiled and said, there is a long time to come, we will not miss this meal. Hearing Lin Chuan's words, Tangua's brows also relaxed, and she softly repeated Lin Chuan's words that there is a long time to come, and a smile gradually appeared on her face. Okay, then I will go to deal with the family affairs first, and come to see you tomorrow. Okay. Lin Chuan nodded. And Tangua immediately instructed the driver. Go and send Mr. Lin to the house I prepared, and listen to Mr. Lin on the way. I know, miss. The driver nodded. Don't bother, I can take a taxi back. Lin Chuan hurriedly refused. Be obedient, let the driver take you, he is familiar with the road. But the driver goes to take me, what will you do? Lin Chuan asked hurriedly. Tangua smiled and said, I'll just ask another driver to pick me up. Don't worry, I have many drivers who won't let me wait foolishly on the roadside. But. No buts, Lin Chuan, I feel guilty for not treating you to dinner today. Do you want me to leave you on the roadside? I'll feel bad about that. Lin Chuan had no choice but to agree. Tang Guo was still worried, so she took out a pen and wrote down her phone number and gave it to Lin Chuan, asking him to call her if he got into any trouble. Lin Chuan agreed and left with peace of mind. Lin Chuan and the driver were the only ones left in the car. Thinking back to the day, Lin Chuan felt deeply that Tang Guo's identity was special. Shen Weishuo's identity was extremely extraordinary, and even Jiang Lang's cousin didn't dare to offend him, but Tang Guo didn't care. Not to mention the magical pill that treated him. He finally couldn't help asking the driver, "Master, who is Miss Tang from your family?" The driver was stunned for a moment and asked curiously, "Mr. Lin, didn't my miss tell you her identity?" "She didn't tell me." The driver shook his head and said, "Then I can't tell you. If you have time, you should let Miss tell you in person." Lin Chuan was silent, the driver kept his mouth shut, and there was no point in asking again. It seems that Tang Guo's identity is absolutely noble. Around Tang Guo, there will definitely be many guys like Shen Weishu who look down on others. Only by improving his own strength can he make those guys respect him from the bottom of their hearts and make those who abandoned him regret it. There is no time to waste. Thinking of this, he immediately stopped the driver. "Master, let's not go back to the villa first. Can you take me to Yancheng Chinese medicine wholesale market?" "Of course, you can go anywhere if you ask." The driver immediately agreed. Half an hour later, the car stopped at the main street entrance of the Chinese medicine wholesale city. This is the largest wholesale market of Chinese herbal medicine in Yancheng. Although the name is wholesale market, it seems low-end, but in fact 99% of the herbal medicines are distributed in this place. Whether it is expensive or cheap, precious or common, as long as you want, you can buy it here. Lin Chuan, after inheriting the Lin family's heritage, has mastered many kinds of Chinese medicine techniques and top-level acupuncture techniques. But the most important thing about Chinese medicine is Chinese medicine. Take today for example, if Lin Chuan has a few Qingshan pills, he only needs to give Shen Weishu 2 to recover. It is precisely because he doesn't have them that he can only choose the more conservative and more troublesome 3-needle life-saving method. And his own physical fitness, if he wants to further improve it, it is useless to rely on exercise alone, and he still needs Xia Huan Dan to replenish his internal strength. Chinese herbal medicines are indispensable to him. Estimating the money on hand, Lin Chuan has already thought about what to buy first. Stepping into this Chinese medicine wholesale city, what hits you is the strong and mixed aroma of medicine. The aroma of the medicine was so strong that even the best Chinese medicine practitioner would have to cover his nose when walking. But Lin Chuan could clearly distinguish the aroma of each herb. Angelica, Lycium, Curcuma, Sangmu, Ganoderma, Mugwort, Ginseng. He didn't even need to open his eyes. He closed his eyes, smelled the aroma of the top-grade herbs, and walked to the stall where he needed the herbs. That's it. Top-grade ginseng. But as soon as he opened his eyes and spoke, a man rushed to the stall. "Boss, do you have Baikao ginseng?" The stall owner looked up and glanced at him. He saw that the man was wearing a white vest, overalls, and labor shoes, and his clothes were tattered. He asked impatiently, "Yes. How many?" Hearing this, the man whispered, "I want 10 grams. Chapter 11 I bought it for 1 million. 10 grams. The boss raised his voice instantly, and shouted in a eunuch-like voice, "Do you think I'm a relief center? 10 grams, I'll give it to you for free, okay? Poor people just wait to die, why buy Chinese medicine? It's useless to eat it, a waste of medicinal materials. Get out." The shouting alarmed many people, and the man blushed, embarrassed, but refused to leave. He begged bitterly, "Boss, just sell me 10 grams, I have old people and children, my mother is seriously ill, waiting for this thing to save her life. I just need these 10 grams. Humph, poor people will die sooner or later, don't waste money." The boss turned his head, cracked melon seeds, and continued to browse his phone. Lin Chuan's face was slightly cold. Whether to sell medicinal materials is another matter, the attitude of this boss really made him angry. He has also experienced hardships and knows how difficult it is for this man. He immediately pulled him aside and asked softly, "Did someone at home have an accident?" "Well, my mother had a high fever last night, and I took her into the city on a tricycle, but when we got to the hospital, the doctor said that only this prescription could cure the disease, and I really don't have that much money." Lin Chuan nodded slightly, "Don't worry, I'll buy it for me." The man almost knelt down after hearing this, and Lin Chuan quickly pulled him back. Walking to the stall, the boss was still calmly cracking melon seeds, and the shells of the spitted melon seeds were everywhere. How much is the Baikao ginseng? The boss looked up and glanced at him, and said indifferently, 1,000 per piece, no bargaining. Lin Chuan nodded slightly, the price was reasonable. He turned to ask the man. Is this one okay? Yes, yes. This is what the doctor said. Lin Chuan nodded, but was about to pay. Immediately, he thought of the fragrance of the top-grade ginseng just now, which seemed to come from this side. He took a closer look. It seemed that no ginseng was displayed specially on the boss's stall, but all of them were placed together and sold as herb ginseng. Suddenly, his eyes locked on a ginseng. This ginseng was dry and shriveled, only the thickness of a thumb, and there were only a few whiskers left. It looked as if it was accidentally torn off when it was picked. But Lin Chuan took a breath secretly. Changbai Mountain wild ginseng, where there are 4 seasons of cold winter, fertile land, and extremely slow growth of plants. Although this one is small, it is at least more than 100 years old. An herb ginseng is a kind of ginseng that is artificially sown and cultivated in the wild. The 100-year-old top-quality Changbai Mountain wild ginseng was sold as herb ginseng. Lin Chuan was extremely surprised and planned to buy them all. I want to buy a herb ginseng. The boss said, do you want to buy it for him? Yes. Lin Chuan nodded. 5,000 per piece, 1 cent less. The boss took the herb ginseng back directly. Lin Chuan was stunned. It was only 1,000 just now, why has it increased to 5,000 now? Har har, don't you want to be a good person? Then be a good person to the end. He has no money to buy medicine, you help him, I have no business, shouldn't you help me too? Lin Chuan's face was slightly cold. This is someone's life-saving medicine. That's none of my business, and I didn't ask him for money. He bought 1,000 pills, and you bought it for 5,000. The man was particularly embarrassed after hearing this, and pulled Lin Chuan's hand and said, brother, why don't we go somewhere else? But the stall owner smiled contemptuously, I am the only one in the whole Chinese medicine city that sells ginseng. Other stores come to me to buy goods. You will pay 5,000 wherever you go. Lin Chuan's face sank. Okay, I'll buy it. The boss smiled contemptuously, so straightforward. I've changed my mind, 6,000 each. You're clearly blackmailing me. Will you buy it or not? Lin Chuan took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. There's a total of 12,000 in this card, I'll take 2. The boss's eyes lit up instantly, and he was secretly happy. This sucker was willing to pay so much money after just a little excitement. He hurriedly took the bank card, swiped it on the POS machine, and nodded, okay. You take it. Lin Chuan lowered his head and was about to take it, but the boss grabbed his hand. Are you trying to pick up my leak? Wishful thinking, don't pick. The boss stopped Lin Chuan and picked out 2 thin and small ginsengs from the ginseng pile and threw them to Lin Chuan. The 100-year-old ginseng was among them. Lin Chuan was secretly happy, this guy, too smart for his own good. But he said with anger on his face. Do you want it or not? Just these 2. I won't return the money if you don't want it. Lin Chuan took a long breath and snatched the ginseng. He gave one of them to the man. My benefactor, how can I repay you? The man's tears flowed down and he wanted to kneel down immediately. But Lin Chuan stopped him again. A man's knees are made of gold. If you really want to repay me, live like a man and thank me gloriously. My benefactor, please remember my name, Li Dazhuang. When I become rich in the future, I will never forget your kindness. I will never forget you. Lin Chuan smiled and patted his shoulder. Li Dazhuang left in a hurry and left the Chinese medicine market in a blink of an eye to save his mother. The boss also swiped the card and returned the bank card to Lin Chuan. Har har, young man, you're the dumbest person I've ever seen for buying 2 ginsengs for 12,000 yuan. Lin Chuan just chuckled when he heard this. Really? But I think people who don't know the value of things are the dumbest. What did you say? The boss looked at Lin Chuan in surprise. Lin Chuan ignored him and asked. Do you accept wild ginseng? Of course. I'll accept it if you have it. Lin Chuan handed the ginseng to the boss. Do you accept this ginseng? The boss almost laughed when he saw it. Isn't this the ginseng that I sold to him? Now he wants to sell it back to me. Could it be that he felt that he was impulsive just now and now wants to ask for mercy and let him return some money? Okay, how much do you plan to sell it for? Lin Chuan calmly stretched out a finger. 1,000 yuan. 1 million. The boss's smile froze. Did I hear you right? 1 million. Are you crazy? I usually sell one ginseng for 1,000 yuan. This kind of rubbish may not be sold for 7 or 800 yuan. You actually want to sell it for 1 million. 1 million. The boss smiled and shook his head. Young man, I was mad at you for seeing the 12,000 yuan. Okay, give me this ginseng and I will return you 6,000 yuan. Is that okay? Lin Chuan said calmly, this is a 100-year-old wild ginseng from Chanbai Mountain. I thought of you first because you sold it to me at a low price. If you don't buy it, I will sell it to someone else. The boss smiled contemptuously. Chanbai Mountain wild ginseng. I have been selling medicine for decades. I can tell the price of this thing at a glance. I want to see which idiot is willing to spend 1 million to buy this dry ginseng. What if I really sell it? Lin Chuan asked calmly. Really sell it? If you really sell it, I'll give you my stall. I quit. If you can't see this, what kind of medicine dealer am I? But what if it doesn't sell? Then I'll buy all the herbs on your stall at double the price. Lin Chuan said calmly. Okay. The boss also became interested. I'll help you shout. I want to see if you can fool people. A junior dares to pretend to know herbs in front of me. Everyone come and see, the world is so big that there are all kinds of things. This guy wants to sell a ginseng for 1 million. After a while, everyone was attracted by the movement here. But seeing the ginseng in Lin Chuan's hand, they all shook their heads. What do you mean? Is this thing worth 1 million? It's just a fantasy. How can someone spend 1 million to buy this thing? The noisy crowd gathered more and more, but they were all laughing at Lin Chuan's ignorance. Lin Chuan didn't care and waited patiently. At this moment, a deep voice suddenly rang out from the crowd. 1 million. I'll take it. Chapter 12 I want 10 million. A man in a windbreaker came to the front with a passionate look in his eyes. Little brother, 1 million, I'll take it. You follow me, I'll transfer the money to you right away. Lin Chuan nodded slightly. The shopkeeper was dumbfounded. Can this thing really sell for 1 million? Is this a big liar meeting a big fool? Wait a minute. Sir, take a closer look, this thing is Baikao ginseng. Baikao ginseng of garbage quality, no one will buy it for 7 or 800. Yes, I know it's Baikao ginseng, but I'm willing. The man wanted to take Lin Chuan away eagerly. The shopkeeper became even more excited when he heard this. This is definitely a big fool. Sir, wait a minute, I have Baikao ginseng here, and the quality is better. I only need 500,000 per piece. The man said impatiently, what kind of garbage are you? I only want this one in his hand. The boss was completely dumbfounded. There are really such people in the world, spending 1 million to buy a Baikao ginseng? No. This must be a proxy. Stop. The boss once again stood in front of the man and sneered, I can see that you two are in collusion, right? The man just felt puzzled. What collusion? What's your business if I buy ginseng? But at this moment, a voice came from the crowd. I'll offer 1.5 million. An old man with white hair and a youthful face walked out of the crowd, holding a large leather bag in his hand. Walked in front of Lin Chuan, opened the leather bag and threw it on the ground. 1.5 million, cash. The whole audience was in an uproar. No one expected that someone would be willing to spend 1.5 million to buy a ginseng. The boss was also completely dumbfounded. 1.5 million. He might not make 1.5 million even if he sold ginseng for a year. Hearing the old man's offer, the man who had offered 1 million before was so angry that his teeth almost broke. He pointed at the boss's nose and said, It's all your fault, you bastard, for stopping me time and again. I'll settle accounts with you later. Then he looked at Lin Chuan and said anxiously, I'll pay 2 million for this ginseng in your hand. Lin Chuan remained calm on the surface, but was extremely surprised in his heart. I just sold it at a loss. He thought 1 million was exaggerated enough, but he never expected that the value of this thing was so high. But before he could say anything, the old man spoke again. 3 million. This time, even Lin Chuan couldn't pretend to be calm. He looked at the old man in front of him in shock. 3 million. This was something he had never dared to dream of before. You know, his monthly pocket money was only 1,000 before. The 12,000 just now was all his savings. The man's face turned cold when he heard this. 3 million, even if he emptied his family's assets, he couldn't come up with 3 million now. I originally thought I could get a small bargain, but now it seems that there is no hope. He gritted his teeth and said, "Old man, we have to follow the first come first served principle, right?" The old man smiled but said nothing. "I only know that the one who pays the highest price wins. This has been the principle since ancient times." Before Lin Chuan could speak, the boss was completely dumbfounded. He would never have thought that this thing could be sold for 3 million. 3 million. He worked so hard and couldn't make 3 million in a year. He quickly dissuaded him. "Old man, take a closer look. This thing is just a very ordinary ginseng. He bought it from my stall. The one on my stall is definitely better. More robust. You should buy mine. Mine is cheaper than this." The old man smiled and shook his head. He knew that the boss was just a middleman who didn't know the goods at all. He couldn't tell such a good thing. Other people who knew their business were secretly regretful. They usually didn't even look at such stalls, and only bought the finished products when buying medicine. Who would have thought that there would be such a top-quality ginseng on such a stall? The man who bought things before knew that he didn't have the financial resources to compete with this old man, so he said helplessly, "Let me tell you why it is worth so much money, while your better-looking ginseng is only worth a few hundred yuan." He said loudly, "Because this is not a ginseng at all. It is a real 100-year-old ginseng. It is also the highest quality wild ginseng from Chanbai Mountain. If you don't believe it, you can ask this gentleman to clean the dust on the surface. You can see the difference between this ginseng and ordinary ginseng by looking at the surface scars. The market price of this ginseng is more than 10 million, and there is no market for it. There are countless people who want it." After hearing this, the boss's face changed drastically, his eyes went black, and he almost died on the spot. Things worth tens of millions were actually sold by himself as ginseng. He was still complacent after selling it for 6,000 yuan, thinking that he had cheated others. In the end, he was the one who was cheated. Regret and pain emerged in his heart. After hearing what the man said, someone immediately encouraged Lin Chuan to wash the ginseng. A beautiful woman with black silk stockings immediately handed over a bottle of mineral water. Lin Chuan did not refuse and gently washed the dust off the ginseng with water. This kind of dry and shrunken ginseng is usually given as a gift when it is purchased, so it is very dirty. No one expected that this ginseng would be so top-notch. When the dust was washed away, layers of scars appeared on the surface, and everyone couldn't help but take a breath. It was stunning. This ginseng looks extremely ugly and covered with scars, but in fact, these scars are the proof that it has broken through layers of frozen soil in Chanbai Mountain for hundreds of years and has grown hard. The beauty couldn't help trembling when she looked at this ginseng, and immediately quoted her price. 10 million. I want it. 10 million. Before Lin Chuan could react, the boss almost vomited blood when he heard the offer. This is money he can't make in his life, but Lin Chuan made it in a few minutes, and with his own money. The boss wanted to die now. He immediately ran to Lin Chuan, grabbed his clothes tightly and said, "I won't sell this ginseng anymore. I'll pay you 10 times, no, 100 times. Can you give it back to me?" Lin Chuan looked indifferent, as if he was looking at a fool, and asked, "If you were me, would you give it back to me? I wanted to sell it to you for 1 million, but you refused and laughed at me. This ginseng was in your hands twice, but you didn't grasp it. You can't blame me." The boss wanted to die even more when he heard it. He knelt on the ground and begged Lin Chuan, "I have old people and young children to take care of. Please have pity on me. 1 million, we agreed on 1 million. I'll buy it." Lin Chuan was even more sarcastic. "Just now, Li Dajuan begged you. Did you help him?" The boss wanted to be shameless, but was dragged aside by the men brought by the beauty. The beauty asked with a smile, 10 million, what do you think? But after repeated consideration, Lin Chuan shook his head. "I won't sell it anymore. 10 million is a lot, but with his ability, he may not be unable to earn it." He was just overwhelmed by the high price, but now he calmed down and thought that this level of medicinal materials is hard to come by, and it will also be a huge improvement for him. Instead of selling it, it is better to keep it to strengthen his body. Hearing this, the three people were very sorry. The old man was calm, stretched out his hand and shook hands with Lin Chuan, and asked gently, "May I ask your name? Where do you live?" "My name is Lin Chuan, and my home is in Yancheng." The old man nodded slightly, took out his gold-plated black business card and handed it over. "I am Zhao Shi. If you are willing to sell it one day, you can find me at the address on the business card. I promise to prepare cash that satisfies you." After that, he turned and left without saying another word. Lin Chuan looked at the business card and was surprised to find that the gold border on the business card was real gold. It was very heavy. The beauty also felt emotional. So it's Senior Zhao Shi, no wonder he's so generous. She stepped forward and shook hands with Lin Chuan, and said unwillingly, "Sir, do you think the money is too little? If you think it's too little, we can talk about it again. Even if it's twice as much, I'm willing to pay." "No, no, no." Lin Chuan waved his hand hurriedly, "I'm not that kind of person. I really don't plan to sell it." The beauty smiled bitterly and handed out her business card. "Then I won't bother you any more. If you plan to sell it, please contact me as soon as possible. No matter how much money it is, I'm willing to pay." "Okay." Lin Chuan nodded. After watching the beauty leave, he looked down at the business card. Zhang Xinyu. This person is actually the eldest daughter of Zhang Group. Just then, the man who first asked Lin Chuan to buy ginseng came forward. He said with a smile, "It's a pity that I didn't get your chance, but just treat it as meeting a friend. I'm not as awesome as the two of them. I'm just a middleman. I wanted to take advantage of you just now. Don't mind it. How could it be? Good things should be given to people who know the goods. If you really spend 1 million to buy it, it means I'm not destined to make a lot of money." Lin Chuan said with a smile. The man's eyes suddenly lit up and he said happily, "Brother, you are generous. Unlike some guys, they cry and wail when they lose a little money." He glanced at the boss who was lying on the ground and sighing, his eyes full of contempt. Then he turned around and said with a smile, "Everyone in the underworld calls me Li San. You can contact me if you want to buy or sell any medicinal materials in the future." Lin Chuan nodded politely, "Okay, Brother San, then I'll leave you a contact number. I may really need your help in the future." Li San was particularly happy. You have to know that Lin Chuan just chatted and laughed with the CEOs of 2 big companies. He turned around and called me third brother, which can be said to be giving me enough face. "Brother, third brother can't help you with anything. I just heard that you made a bet with this guy, betting on his stall, right?" "That's true." Lin Chuan nodded. "How about letting me handle it?" Li San sneered and said, "This bastard just stopped me from picking up the bargain, and today I have to tear down his stall." "Okay." Lin Chuan nodded, "Then I'll trouble you, third brother." Li San was not polite, and stood there and shouted, "Come and take a look, the best ginseng is free, it's all free." As soon as these words came out, a group of people rushed up to grab the stall. The boss also stood up and hurriedly stopped Li San. "Don't rob. Don't rob. These are all my capital. No one is allowed to rob. If anyone robs, I will kill your whole family." Li San sneered and said, "You are willing to accept the loss? Do you want to default on your debt? Get out." Then he kicked him away. Lin Chuan ignored this behavior. He didn't like to bully others. But he also knew that to deal with such people, he had to use the most primitive method. If this guy suffers, he won't dare to do it next time. What's more, he cheated himself of 12,000 yuan. Even if everything on the stall was robbed, he wouldn't lose much money. After dealing with this matter and leaving the market, it was already half an hour later. Lin Chuan came out with a big box full of medicinal materials sent by Li San. Lin Chuan was not polite. The two of them took what they needed. If he really encountered any precious medicinal materials in the future, he would definitely think of him first. After getting in the car, he apologized to the driver for wasting time. The driver was quite surprised and waved his hand and said it was okay. Then he asked gently, "Should we go to your accommodation first, or continue to visit?" "Let's go home." Lin Chuan couldn't wait to boil this pot of medicine to strengthen his body. Chapter 13. Elder Shin is critically ill. Soon, the car stopped at the gate of an extremely luxurious community. Looking up, I saw 4 big characters written on the gate, Longwan Community. The community was lush with greenery, a road went straight forward, and on both sides were rows of 4 or 5-story villas, which stretched as far as the eye could see. Lin Chuan was stunned. He never thought that there was such a luxurious place in Guangzhou. He never thought that Tangguo would give him the house here to live in. The car drove into the community and finally stopped in front of a 5-story villa. The driver got out of the car to help Lin Chuan open the door and took his things. "Mr. Lin, this is the temporary residence that Miss Tan prepared for you. I hope you will be satisfied." "Of course I am satisfied." Lin Chuan asked curiously, "The rent here is not cheap, right?" The driver was stunned and nodded with a smile. At this time, Lin Chuan didn't know that the houses in Longwan Community were never rented out or sold to the outside, even if they were rich. People who can live here are not ordinary people. The driver said softly, "Mr. Lin, I wish you a pleasant rest. I won't disturb you." Lin Chuan nodded, "Thank you for your hard work. Take care." After the driver left, Lin Chuan looked at the luxurious villa in front of him for a long time before pushing open the door of the villa. The room was extremely clean, without a speck of dust. The area of the entire living room was twice as large as his previous house. Not to mention that this was only the area of 1 floor, and there were 5 floors with the same area above. He went back and forth and walked around the whole house, which took almost half an hour. After looking around, Lin Chuan sat on the balcony on the 3rd floor. From here, there are villas like this, and there is no end in sight. Houses like this are all vacant. Lin Chuan deeply felt how big the gap between himself and Tangguo was. This is already a gap between heaven and earth. However, there was no inferiority in Lin Chuan's eyes, but he was extremely confident. He firmly believed that with the inheritance of the Lin family, he would sooner or later be able to climb up from the boiler ash to the Lingxiao Palace. Without further delay, he immediately returned to his room to take out the medicinal materials he bought in the market, and began to brew the great tonic pill according to the memory in the inheritance. Tonight, he would break through the first level of the inheritance and learn a deeper mental method. And tonight was destined not to be a peaceful night. The Shen family mansion. At this moment, the lights were bright. The crowd came and went, making a lot of noise. The reason was that after being sent back to the Shen family, Shen Weishou's condition did not improve, but became more serious. The whole person was pale and unconscious. In just one night, he vomited blood 5 times. And each time was darker than the last. The first time was still bright red blood, but the 5th time, it was already a black blood clot. The Shen family was anxious, but the doctors they invited were helpless, and no instrument could check what was wrong. In the Shen family ancestral hall, looking at the noisy crowd, the uncle of the Shen family sitting in the main seat said slowly, "Quiet." Everyone quieted down instantly and looked at the uncle. The uncle said slowly, "My brother Shen Weishou's death is a foregone conclusion. Go and call Shen Tu back to see his father for the last time." As soon as these words came out, the Shen family wailed. It's not that they are so sad. It's because once Shen Weishou, the strongest pillar of the Shen family, passes away, the enemies of the Shen family will come for revenge, and the Shen family will no longer be in today's situation. But at this moment, a voice came from the crowd. "I know someone who can save my dad." Everyone looked over immediately and found that the person who spoke was Shen Ting. The uncle frowned slightly. Shen Ting was actually a child adopted by his younger brother. Although the two were like father and son, they were not members of the Shen family after all. Originally, he had no right to speak in such occasions. But now it was an extraordinary situation, so he was invited in. "Who do you think can save Shen Weishou?" Shen Ting said immediately. "Lin Chuan." As soon as this was said, everyone was extremely confused and talked about it. "Who is Lin Chuan? I've never heard of him. Is he some kind of hidden miracle doctor?" Uncle was also very confused. "Lin Chuan? What kind of miracle doctor is he? Why have I never heard of him?" Shen Ting was about to explain, but was interrupted by Shen Junyu. "Uncle, Lin Chuan is not a miracle doctor at all, he is just an intern who deceives people. And it is because of him that caused my father's old injury to relapse. He is still unconscious." Uncle's eyes were cold and he slammed the table. "Is there such a thing?" Shen Ting was shocked and was about to explain, but was interrupted by Shen Junyu again. With tears in her eyes, she cried and said, "Not only that, Lin Chuan was afraid that my father would not die, so he inserted 3 silver needles into his heart. My father was just unconscious, but since he inserted the 3 silver needles, my father has been critically ill. The uncle looked sternly. Where are the needles? Why didn't I find them? I have asked someone to remove them, but it's too late. Even if they were removed, they couldn't save my father's life. Woo woo. Shinting's scalp exploded after hearing this. Shinjunyu, you actually pulled out the silver needle. Mr. Lin Chuan told me. As long as you don't move the silver needle, the master can heal without treatment. Bullshit. The silver needle was stuck in the heart. If it wasn't pulled out, the heart would be infected and my father would die. Shinjunyu. Dad was in a critical condition at the time. If it wasn't for Lin Chuan's 2 needles, he would have died. Dad had improved after the 2 needles. If you hadn't stopped the 3rd needle, he might have woken up now. Har har, nonsense, uncle, if you don't believe it, you can ask Dr. Cow to come. Dr. Cow is Dad's personal doctor, he was at the scene at the time. Uncle remained calm and said slowly, ask Dr. Cow to come in. Soon, Mr. Shin's personal doctor was brought in. Uncle pointed at him and asked. When my brother was unconscious, someone pierced his heart with a silver needle. Is that true? It's true. When the silver needle pierced his heart, I pulled it out carefully by myself, so as not to cause secondary damage. If the silver needle stayed in the body, the consequences would be disastrous. Dr. Cow added, and I also injected Mr. Shin with the liquid medicine I prescribed, which stabilized his mind and allowed him to survive until now. Otherwise. Shinting's eyes darkened after hearing this. Dr. Lin has clearly explained the taboos. But you ignored it. Dr. Lin? Bar. You have followed my father for decades, but you can't even tell a liar. Shin Junyu snorted contemptuously. Shinting wanted to argue, but someone covered his mouth. At some point, a man stood behind him. He was an 8th-degree martial artist, but he didn't even notice someone approaching. Shinting was shocked and immediately wanted to break free. But suddenly I heard a very familiar voice. What happened that made my brother so angry? Everyone turned around and looked, and their eyes were immediately filled with surprise. A burly middle-aged man wearing a military green coat and 5 rows of medals on his chest appeared behind Shinting. Even the uncle couldn't help but stand up. Shintu. This man was Shintu, the most handsome man in the border area, who was famous in China. He looked calm and said calmly, my father hasn't died yet, and you are arguing so fiercely. The uncle quickly explained, Shintu, listen to me. No need. Shintu waved his hand and said calmly, Uncle, let's talk about everything after my father recovers, Dr. Song. I'm here. A white-bearded old man stepped in, came to Shintu, and said with a bow. I have given Mr. Shin the 3 treasures golden pill. He will not be in danger of death within 3 days. After my inspection, Mr. Shin's condition is incurable, but there is a glimmer of hope. When Mr. Shin was critically ill, someone tried to save him and was about to succeed, but the rescue was interrupted for some reason. Oh? Do you have any idea? The old man shook his head and said helplessly, I can only vaguely sense this secret method of Chinese medicine, but I can't understand it. Unless the miracle doctor takes action personally, there will be a glimmer of hope. Shintu nodded slightly. I understand. Uncle, please help me notify all Chinese medicine doctors in Yancheng and invite Chinese medicine doctors from all over the city to come for diagnosis tomorrow. As long as anyone can cure my father, I, Shintu, will fulfill his 3 wishes. As soon as these words came out, the whole audience was in an uproar. Shinting wanted to say Lin Chuan's name, but he held it back. Now if he said Lin Chuan, no one would believe it. It seems that he can only go and invite him in person. Chapter 14 Shinting comes to see. In the early morning, Lin Chuan slowly opened his eyes and opened the lid of the medicine furnace. The aroma was immediately fragrant. Lin Chuan carefully reached into the medicine furnace and took out 3 sesame-sized pills from it. He was a little excited. After a night of hard work, the great tonic pill was finally made. This whole furnace of medicinal materials only produced 3 great tonic pills, and the rest became medicine dregs. Lin Chuan lamented the luxury of the great tonic pill, and was even more fortunate that he did not put the 100-year-old ginseng in it yesterday. If he had really put it in at that time, it might have been wasted. At this moment, he could not wait and immediately threw a great tonic pill into his mouth. The pill was the size of a sesame seed, and it did not even need to be chewed, and it turned directly into liquid medicine and flowed into his throat. Buzz. Lin Chuan only felt as if there was an electric current passing through his brain. Then his bones became sore and soft, and there was a crackling sound, and his whole body felt sore and itchy. He couldn't help but close his eyes, feeling the changes in his body. 10 minutes later, Lin Chuan opened his eyes again. His eyes were extremely bright at this moment. Looking into the distance, his vision became extremely clear. Yesterday, he could only vaguely see the approximate number of villas, but now he could see even the farthest villa clearly. Not only that, his body was full of vitality, as if he had endless strength. He casually waved his fist and felt a speed that pierced the air. Ho! Lin Chuan was extremely excited. At this moment, his body was 10 times stronger than before he was injured. This made Lin Chuan very excited. If it was a bit difficult to deal with the 3 or 4 little gangsters before, now even if there were more than a dozen of them together, Lin Chuan could easily deal with it. It really deserves to be a big tonic pill. Ordinary people take it to strengthen their bodies, and patients take it to cure their diseases. Just when he was happy, Lin Chuan suddenly heard a doorbell downstairs. Lin Chuan was puzzled. Who would knock on the door so early in the morning? Did his practice disturb the neighbors yesterday? He quickly packed up and ran to open the door. But when the door opened, there was a figure that surprised him. The person knocking on the door was none other than Tanggua. At this time, she had her hair tied up, light makeup on, her face was rosy and white, and her lips were moist and soft. She was wearing an exquisite pure white cheongsam, which outlined her perfect figure. Her upper body was well proportioned, and her slender figure could actually have such a proud chest. The 2 smooth and white long legs in the lower body were flawless, without any silk covering, extending up to the hidden hem of the cheongsam. At this moment, Lin Chuan was stunned. He was a little unsure whether he really knew such a beautiful girl. Or maybe everything before was just his fantasy of seeing the girl. Lin Chuan remembered. The first time he saw her, she looked sick. The second time he saw her, she had recovered, but her face was still pale as if she had just recovered from a serious illness. This was his third time seeing Tanggua. A day later, Tanggua had recovered as before, pure, sweet, gentle and generous. She was more beautiful than any woman he had ever seen. Tanggua put her hands behind her back and asked with a smile, "Have you seen enough?" Lin Chuan came back to his senses, realized his loss of composure, and apologized quickly. "I'm really sorry, Tanggua stretched out her finger to block his mouth and said gently, "Many relatives came to my house yesterday, and everyone was very happy. We ate and drank until very late. I didn't have time to see you and ask if you were used to living here. I should apologize. Don't look at me. The environment here is so good. It's the best place I've ever lived. I can't thank you enough." Tanggua smiled and nodded. The 2 were embarrassed for a while, and Tanggua asked with her head tilted, "Don't invite me in to sit down." I forgot, please come in." He quickly invited Tanggua in. The 2 sat opposite each other on the sofa. Tanggua took out the lunchbox from behind her and said with a smile, "I know you haven't eaten, so I brought you breakfast." "Really?" Lin Chuan's stomach growled. He then remembered that he seemed to have not eaten for a day and a night. He smiled embarrassedly and took the lunchbox and said, "Then I won't be polite." "Yeah." Tanggua nodded. Lin Chuan opened the lunchbox. The food inside was very simple: a pot of preserved egg and lean meat porridge, a plate of fried dumplings, and a few steamed buns. Smelling the aroma of the food, Lin Chuan immediately felt his appetite. Before picking up the chopsticks, he didn't forget to ask Tanggua if she had eaten. Tanggua nodded slightly. "I had breakfast with my relatives." Since that was the case, Lin Chuan was no longer polite and ate voraciously. Looking at the way he ate, Tanggua quickly advised him to slow down, but her face was full of joy. "How is it? How does it taste?" "Delicious." Lin Chuan took the time to give Tanggua a thumbs up, and couldn't help asking, "Where did you buy this? It's so delicious." Tanggua opened her mouth in surprise. "Really? Really? Tell me which store it is, and I will definitely buy it every day in the future. It's so delicious." Tanggua was nervous and happy. "If you think it's delicious, I will make it for you every day in the future." After she said that, her face became even redder. Lin Chuan was also a little surprised. tentatively asked, "Did you make this?" "Yeah." Tang Guo nodded. Lin Chuan was shocked that such a young lady actually cooked for him. No wonder the dishes were so simple, it turned out that they were all made by this young lady. Afraid that Lin Chuan would not believe it, Tang Guo hurriedly added, "I've always wanted to learn how to cook, but my physical condition doesn't allow it. This is my first time cooking, but I don't know who to ask, so I thought of you." Lin Chuan looked a little surprised. He didn't expect Tang Guo to cook for him for the first time. Tang Guo thought Lin Chuan had misunderstood, and quickly added, "Don't worry, I've tasted it before, and the saltiness is normal. I'm definitely not asking you to test poison." Lin Chuan waved his hand and said, "That's not what I meant. I'm surprised that your first cooking is so delicious." "Really? Really, it's delicious." Tang Guo smiled and said, "Then eat it while it's hot, it will be cold soon." Lin Chuan hummed and continued to eat with his head down. Tang Guo was particularly happy to see Lin Chuan eat cleanly. Suddenly, she seemed to think of something and said, "I told my relatives last night that you cured me with acupuncture. They were all very shocked and wanted to meet you and thank you in person." "Really?" "Of course it's true. Do you have time? They plan to prepare a dinner for you and invite you to dinner." Lin Chuan hesitated and said, "But I am of humble status. Will it have a bad impact?" Tang Guo's expression suddenly became serious. "You are my savior and the benefactor of my whole family. We are grateful to you and respect you. How can we despise your humble status? If anyone dares to despise you, I will be the first to get angry with him." "Okay then. Then it's settled. I'll pick you up tomorrow and we'll go home together." Tang Guo said happily, "Don't worry. My family is very nice and can't wait to see you. As long as you go, they will definitely welcome you." "Yeah." Lin Chuan nodded. Since Tang Guo said so, Lin Chuan was relieved. Just as the two were talking and laughing, there was a knock on the door. "Miss." The person who spoke was Tang Guo's bodyguard. Tang Guo was very unhappy to be interrupted while talking to Lin Chuan. She frowned and asked, "What's the matter?" "Someone is looking for Mr. Lin outside." "Looking for me?" Lin Chuan was a little surprised. No one except Tang Guo knew where he lived now. Tang Guo was also very surprised. "Who is it?" The bodyguard paused for a moment and answered. "He said his name is Shenting." Chapter 15 Go to Rescue People. "Shenting?" The two people in the room looked at each other, extremely surprised. Let's not talk about how Shenting found this place. Why did Shenting come to find him? Lin Chuan was a little impatient. "Is he here to ask for that card?" Tang Guo shook her head. "No, Shenting is not the kind of person who would go back on his word. Let him come in, we'll ask him clearly." "Okay." Tang Guo nodded and shouted to the outside of the door, "Come in." The door opened and Shenting walked in immediately. Seeing the two of them, he was extremely shocked. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. These two people are actually having breakfast together? Could it be that the two of them lived together last night? Shenting knew how terrifying Tang Guo's background was. How could the Tang family allow their eldest daughter to be with an ordinary person? But thinking about it carefully, Dr. Lin has superb medical skills and is indeed worthy of Miss Tang. Seeing that he hadn't said anything for a long time, Lin Chuan asked coldly, "You came to see me, just to stand here and stare blankly?" Shenting came back to his senses, quickly dispelled the random thoughts in his mind, and said respectfully, "Mr. Lin, I have an important request for you." "Speak." Lin Chuan said calmly. "My father's condition worsened after returning home, and he is in danger. I want to ask you to come out again and save my master's life." Lin Chuan's face changed slightly. "How is it possible? With my 2 needles to keep him alive, even the king of hell can't take him away. How can his life be hanging by a thread?" Shenting smiled bitterly and said helplessly, "That's because Shen Junyu took the initiative to pull out the 2 silver needles." Lin Chuan's face turned cold when he heard it. "Since you don't trust me and you pulled out the needles without authorization, why did you come to me?" "Sir, I was careless for a moment. Please forgive me. HMPH, once the 2 silver needles are pulled out, even gods can't save him. Let your old man wait for death." "Sir." Shenting knelt down in front of Lin Chuan and begged. "I have been weak and sick since I was a child, and was abandoned in the wilderness. Shen Weisu saved my life, taught me martial arts, adopted me by his side, and let me call him Dad. His kindness will never be forgotten. If you can save my father's life, Shinting is willing to repay you with his cows and horses. Lin Chuan looked indifferent. It can't be saved. Please go back. Shinting prostrated himself and kowtowed 3 times. Sir, as long as you are willing to make another move, Shinting is willing to be your lackey. As long as you say east, Shinting will never go west. He will die for me. If you don't believe it, you can take a picture of Shinting's current ugly appearance. If I say anything against you, publish it to the media anytime and anywhere to ruin my reputation. But Lin Chuan remained unmoved. Tanghua couldn't bear it when she saw this, so she gently pulled Lin Chuan and asked in a low voice, Lin Chuan, is there really no way? No matter how arrogant Shen Weisu was, he was still an elder who watched him grow up. Tanghua really couldn't bear to watch him die. Hearing Tanghua's words, Lin Chuan sighed helplessly. He said to Shinting with a cold expression, Shinting, your father's condition was originally very simple. 3 needles could save his life. If the needles were interrupted, 2 needles could also keep him alive. He only needed to recover for a few days. But now that the silver needles have been pulled out, his whole body is open to the devil. It's not that easy to save him. Sir, I agree to any conditions. Shinting said immediately. Lin Chuan immediately listed a row of medicinal materials. 1 kilogram of saffron. 500 grams of cordyceps sinensis. 500 grams of agarwood and sandalwood. 3 blood lotus, 5 ginsengs from Changbai Mountain over 10 years old. And Shinting did not dare to neglect and wrote them down one by one. After confirming that they were correct, he asked carefully, Mr. Lin, can these medicinal materials cure my father's illness? No. Lin Chuan shook his head. He said calmly, Shen Weishuo's illness is a terminal illness for others, but for me, it is no different from a cold. A few needles can cure it. Shinting was puzzled. What about these herbs? Of course they are my reward. Did I save your dad for nothing? Shinting's nervous expression relaxed instantly, and he said excitedly, Don't mention these herbs. As long as my dad can recover, I will bring you mountains of gold and silver. Lin Chuan was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. Let's not waste time, let's go now. Okay. I'll prepare a car for you. Shinting stood up and said hurriedly. Tanghua also stood up at this time and said, No need to prepare, I'll go with him. Shinting hesitated. Miss Tang, we are going to save people this time, and we may not be able to entertain you when you get there. You don't need to entertain me, you just need to entertain Lin Chuan well, but don't be like last time. Shinting smiled awkwardly, absolutely not. Lin Chuan looked at Tanghua and said with some distress, Tanghua, you have just recovered from a serious illness, so don't bother yourself. It's okay. Tanghua smiled and said secretly, I'll go and see if they dare to bully you. If they still dare to bully you, I will take you back and we won't treat him anymore. Okay. Lin Chuan smiled and nodded. Everything was ready, the 3 got in the car and headed straight to the Shen family. The Shen family was very lively at this time, and the door was crowded with people. Shinting frowned and was extremely depressed. What's going on? Lin Chuan asked. Shinting smiled bitterly and said, In order to treat my father, my family has been spreading invitations to heroes. As long as they can cure my father, the reward is extremely generous, so many doctors have come. He looked at the crowded road in front of him and said guiltily, I'm sorry, Mr. Lin, Miss Tang, it seems that we can only get off the car and leave. Okay. Lin Chuan nodded and helped Tanghua get out of the car. The 3 of them walked around the crowd and entered the Shen family through the back door. With Shinting leading the way, they had no obstacles all their way until they reached the door of the back courtyard. Just as Shinting was about to take the 2 in, he was stopped by the housekeeper. Master Shen, I'm really sorry, you can't go any further. Why? Shinting frowned. It's like this, the doctors are being tested inside, and only doctors who pass the test can enter, and you can't either. This is the genius doctor I brought in person, let me in, I'll talk to my brother. I'm sorry, second master, this is related to the life safety of the master. Master Shen 2 once ordered that no one has any privileges, and only those who pass the test can enter the inner hall to treat illnesses. Shinting looked anxious, but he knew it was useless to tell him, so he had to turn around and say, Mr. Lin, I'm really sorry, please wait, I'll talk to my brother. No need. Lin Chuan waved his hand and said, "Since everyone wants to be tested, I will also enter from the main gate, so that Yushin family can rest assured of my medical skills." Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Lin. Shinting had no choice but to watch Lin Chuan and Tang Gui leave. He didn't sit and wait for death, but prepared to find Shintu and explain the situation in person. At this time, Lin Chuan and the others had already arrived at the courtyard at the entrance of the inner hall. But as soon as he walked in, he saw two acquaintances. It was Jiang Lang and Chen Yuan, a pair of bitches. Lin Chuan. Jiang Lang said in surprise, "Is this a place you can come?" Chapter 16. Is this the way the Shin family entertains guests? Jiang Lang never expected that Lin Chuan would come here, and he didn't expect that he was unharmed. Did his cousin take his money last time but didn't teach Lin Chuan a lesson? Lin Chuan glanced at him and sneered. "You can come, why can't I?" Jiang Lang couldn't help laughing. "I am the medical consultant invited by the Shin family. Compared with me, who do you think you are?" Jiang Lang didn't lie. Although he didn't have much medical talent, the Jiang family was the largest supplier of medicinal materials in Yancheng and one of the most powerful medical families in Yancheng. So it was normal for the Shin family to ask them to be consultants. Lin Chuan said calmly, "The Shin family would rather ask a dog than you. Maybe the dog knows more than you." "Say it again." Jiang Lang's anger was instantly ignited. Lin Chuan, who was usually submissive in front of him, actually provoked him twice. The last time they met on the street. This time it was in public again. Chen Yuan quickly grabbed him and whispered, "This is the Shin family. If you make trouble here, you don't want to live." Jiang Lang suppressed his anger and said with gritted teeth, "Lin Chuan. Last time you were lucky, I was alone, today I brought more than a dozen bodyguards, do you think I can kill you or not?" Lin Chuan just chuckled, not taking him seriously at all. At this time, Chen Yuan stood up. After 3 years of marriage, she not only did not feel the slightest guilt towards Lin Chuan, but also ridiculed him. "Lin Chuan, I know why you came here, you just want to rely on your Lin family's prescription to save Mr. Shin. So that you can get the help of the Shin family. Get rich overnight. But to tell you the truth, I have already given those broken prescriptions of yours to the doctors of the Shin family. Even if the Shin family really adopts them, it is us who should be thanked. Not you." Chen Yuan sneered, "And we have applied for patent protection for those prescriptions of yours. If you dare to use them, it is illegal. I will put you in jail in a minute." Lin Chuan said calmly, "It's just a pile of waste paper. If you want it, just take it." After saying that, he looked at Chen Yuan, with a hint of pity in his eyes. "I was originally going to give those rubbish prescriptions to beggars to clean their butts, but I didn't expect you to be willing to be played with by me for 3 years for it, which is cheaper than the junk on the roadside. Lin Chuan. You will die." Chen Yuan wanted to tear Lin Chuan apart frantically. This time, Jiang Lang persuaded her. "Chen Yuan, don't fall into the trap. This guy just wants to make you look bad. Think about it carefully. Those prescriptions are treasured by the Lin family. They are not sold even if they sell houses and land. How can they be waste paper?" Chen Yuan slowly calmed down. "Indeed, how could it be possible? The efficacy of those prescriptions has also been proven to be effective. To say so is just Lin Chuan pretending to be strong. But in fact, Lin Chuan really doesn't care. With the Lin family inheritance, he realized how ridiculous those prescriptions that his family once treasured were. They were indeed a pile of waste paper. Of course, he lied too. His feelings for Chen Yuan in those 3 years were indeed real. But what he got in return for 3 years of treating her like a treasure was betrayal and deception. When she teamed up with her adulterer to push him down the stairs and try to kill him, his last bit of emotion for Chen Yuan had disappeared. At this time, Chen Yuan's voice sounded again. "Lin Chuan, I know you don't care on the surface, saying that you have played with me for 3 years, but in fact you should regret it to death in your heart." "Regret?" Lin Chuan looked at her in surprise. Chen Yuan proudly shook her hair, proudly raised her chest, and said, "Yes. After all, if you had given in and admitted that you were willing to be a cuckold, you could still have a beautiful woman like me as your wife. If you leave me now, I guess you can only sleep on the lounge chair in the park every day with female mosquitoes, and you will never meet a beautiful woman like me in your life." Lin Chuan felt sick when he heard this. But before he could say anything, he heard a gentle voice behind him. "Lin Chuan already has me, so he shouldn't regret it." Tang Guo came to Lin Chuan, naturally took his arm, and asked curiously, "Is this your ex-wife?" As soon as Tang Guo showed up, Chen Yuan was stunned. Because Tang Guo was so beautiful. She looked sweet and simple, and her figure was extremely well proportioned. Although she was thin and slender, she had plenty of flesh. She was well dressed and behaved elegantly, especially the two tight muscles under her skirt, and the flawless smooth calves made Chen Yuan jealous to death. In comparison, her two slightly greasy thighs could only rely on the smaller size of stockings to squeeze the flesh together, like two freshly stuffed pork sausages. This made her shrink her chest and pull her skirt down unnaturally. And Jiang Lang was originally a playboy. The moment he saw Tang Guo, his eyes were straight. It turned out he thought Chen Yuan was already very beautiful, but when he saw Tang Guo, he couldn't even take his eyes away. Compared with Tang Guo, Chen Yuan was simply a hairless gorilla. The two were simply not of the same species. Also, although Tang Guo looked sweet and pure, her eyes were soft and charming, and her figure was not inferior to those sexy beauties. This kind of woman definitely has two different personalities towards outsiders and her husband. The more Jiang Lang thought about it, the more jealous he became. What kind of luck is this Lin Chuan? He is so amazing that he can actually meet such a beautiful woman. Chen Yuan couldn't help but sneer and said, "Lin Chuan, I thought you were a gentleman, but I didn't expect that you found a new love just a few days after we broke up." Tang Guo said gently, "It wasn't Lin Chuan who found me, I took the initiative to find him." Chen Yuan frowned and said, "Are you sick? I think you are not even 20 years old. Don't be fooled by this guy. This guy has no money on him, and he breathes hard when he works. A coward. I can't afford to support you at all." Tang Guo said with a smile, "Lin Chuan is so good, how can I bear to let him work? I am not like you, who needs to be supported by a man, so you don't need to worry about it. I have to thank you for giving me such a good Lin Chuan." Then she looked at Lin Chuan and said with a smile, "And even if Lin Chuan is fooling me, I am willing." Chen Yuan's face froze and sneered, "You will regret it." Jiang Lang couldn't wait and interrupted. "Miss, my name is Jiang Lang, the eldest son of the Jiang family in Yancheng. One of the wealthy families in Yancheng. Much better than the one next to you." Tang Guo smiled, "I don't think so." Jiang Lang hurriedly said, "You don't believe it? If you don't believe it, you can go to the Jiang family mansion to see it. I welcome you anytime." Jiang Lang wanted to continue talking, but Chen Yuan pinched his back hard. She sneered in a high voice, "Jiang Lang. What do you mean? I'm still here." Jiang Lang smiled awkwardly, "More friends, more roads." Just as he was about to say something, he heard the housekeeper of the Shen family came out and shouted loudly with a loudspeaker. "Dear doctors. Sorry for the long wait, you can enter the inner hall now. Please enter in an orderly manner." At this time, everyone in the hall left one after another, and Jiang Lang looked at Lin Chuan deeply. Sneered, "Lin Chuan, you can't be arrogant for a few days. Wait until we use your prescription to complete the cooperation with the Tang family. I will deal with you first." Lin Chuan looked at Jiang Lang with cold eyes and said, "It's better, otherwise in a month, I will make you Jiang and Chen families disappear forever in Yancheng." He. Jiang Lang didn't take this seriously and turned away. Looking at their backs as they left, Lin Chuan let out a breath. The good mood of the day was completely ruined by the two of them. Just then, a small hand gently fell on his temple, kneading the acupuncture points gently to help him relax. The acupuncture is about to start. It's not worth getting angry at this person at this time. Tang Guo said gently. Lin Chuan came back to his senses and looked at Tang Guo, who stood on tiptoe to help him press the acupoints. He was touched. He said gratefully, "Thank you. I feel much better." Tang Guo chuckled and said, "That's good. Let's go in without delay." Yes. But the two just reached the door. But the housekeeper stretched out his hand to stop them outside. He greeted everyone with a smile, but when facing Lin Chuan, his face fell instantly. "Sorry, sir, there is no place for you here." Lin Chuan was slightly stunned. "Why?" Har, because all our sofas are prepared for experts and scholars, and we didn't consider that people of your status would dare to come. But everyone who comes is a guest, so we still prepared a special place for you." A security guard brought a plastic stool and placed it in front of Lin Chuan. "Please sit down." Lin Chuan looked at the inner hall. Everyone was sitting on a top-grade leather sofa, and there were waiters serving tea and water. He only had this plastic stool. There was no air conditioning, so he could only sit under the scorching sun and enjoy the service of the doctor in the inner hall. He sneered, "Is this the Shen family's way of hospitality?" Just then, a female voice came. "Yes, this is the Shen family's way of hospitality. If you are not satisfied, you can leave now." Chapter 17, Kick Out of the Shen Family. If you are not used to it, you can leave now. A little girl came out from the inner hall. It was her. Lin Chuan instantly recognized the girl's identity. Isn't this Shen Junyu, the daughter of Shen Weisu whom he had met in the hotel before? She looked at Lin Chuan arrogantly and sneered, "I heard that Shen Ting brought a doctor, and I guessed that he had bad intentions. I didn't expect it to be you." She looked contemptuous and completely disdained Lin Chuan. "You almost killed my father, and Shen Ting dared to bring you here. I really don't know what kind of magic potion you gave him." Lin Chuan knew that she must be upset by the last incident. He frowned and said, "If I hadn't saved Shen Weisu, I'm afraid he wouldn't have survived until today." "Bullshit. My Shen family's private doctor can cure all diseases. Do you need to treat my father?" "Oh? Then why did you invite so many doctors?" That's because you wasted time, otherwise my father's illness would have been cured long ago. I really don't know what Shen Ting is thinking about, inviting you here." Lin Chuan chuckled. "If I knew that your Shen family had this attitude, I wouldn't agree to Shen Ting treating the old man." "Okay. Then go ahead, the door is there. Who can stop you?" Shen Junyu sneered. Tangwa frowned. The man she treated as a treasure was actually treated like this? "We were invited by your young master Shen Ting. Do you think we came willingly?" Shen Junyu did not recognize Tangwa's identity. After all, she had studied abroad before. The only time she saw Tangwa was when Tangwa was seriously ill. She went to visit with her family and glimpsed her from a distance. She smiled and said, "It can only be said that Shen Ting was desperate and was fooled by you. When he calms down, he will definitely do the same as me." Tangwa exhaled a foul breath. "I didn't expect that the Shen family is such a person. Lin Chuan, I shouldn't persuade you to come to save people. Let's go." But at this moment, Lin Chuan saw Jiang Lang and Chen Yuan looking at him gloatingly in the inner hall. He calmed down instead. If he really left like this, wouldn't it be a joke? He shook his head gently and said to Tangwa, "You go back to the car. I'll wait here." Tangwa didn't expect Lin Chuan to want to stay, contrary to his usual behavior. "Then I'll go find Shen too. I don't believe there's no one in the Shen family who understands things." "No." Lin Chuan shook his head. This time, Tangwa helped. "What about next time? Who should I ask for help? Tangwa can't always be by my side. I earn my face, not others. The Shen family treated me like this time, but next time I come, I will definitely make them willingly invite me in a sedan chair." "Okay then." Tangwa looked at Shen Junyu deeply, remembering this unruly little girl. "Go back to the car first." Lin Chuan said softly, "If you stand here for a long time, your body will have problems." "What will you do then?" "I'll just wait here, don't worry." "But be obedient, it's okay. It will be more troublesome if something happens to you." Hearing this, Tangwa nodded reluctantly. Shen Junyu didn't hear the two people's whispers. She looked at Tangwa and asked in surprise, "Your woman has left, why don't you go away?" Lin Chuan calmly sat on the plastic stool. "Didn't you ask me to wait here? I'll wait. Otherwise, if I really leave, your Shen family will have to invite me back in a sedan chair. It's better to wait here." Of course, the more important reason is that Lin Chuan promised Shen Ting to save people. Since he promised others, he will naturally keep his promise. As for the result, he just needs to have a clear conscience. Shen Junyu wanted to say something, but the housekeeper quickly stopped her. "Miss, this is a guest invited by Shen Ting after all. You can't give face to the second young master in public. What's wrong with Shen Ting? If he is here, I will scold him too." Having said that, the housekeeper's reminder reminded her of her eldest brother. She hasn't seen her eldest brother Shen Tu for a few years. It would be bad if she was seen by her eldest brother. She snorted and said contemptuously, "You are just pretending. I wonder how long you can last." After that, she turned and left, no longer paying attention to Lin Chuan. The movement here attracted a lot of people's attention. Everyone here sat on the soft sofa, except Lin Chuan, who sat on a plastic stool. This funny scene soon caused people around to talk about it. The ones who laughed the loudest were Jiang Lang and Chen Yuan. The two of them were eager to see Lin Chuan get humiliated. Jiang Lang said with a smile, "Lin Chuan, there are so many great doctors in Yancheng, but they don't dare to come to treat the disease. How dare you, with your lowly status, come to join in the fun? The Shen family is being polite by not kicking you out." Chen Yuan also chimed in, "That's right. There are so many famous doctors on the scene, why is it your turn to treat the disease? With your mediocre medical skills, aren't you afraid that if you treat the old man more seriously, they will break your legs?" Jiang Lang laughed, "Treat the old man. Who is he to meet Mr. Shen? They are just too lazy to drive him away." Many people also shook their heads secretly. Persuaded, "Young man, I know you may be very confident in your medical skills, but this is not a joke, you should go back and have a rest as soon as possible. Indeed, being able to cure Mr. Shen is a great opportunity for any doctor, and it can even allow many doctors to rise to fame overnight. But the prerequisite is that you have to have the ability. Mr. Shen's illness is not a cold or fever, which can be cured with a needle. A newcomer dares to come here to try his luck, he is really looking for death." In response to this, Lin Chuan remained silent and did not defend himself. After all, he was of low position and his words were not taken seriously, and they would not believe him even if he said so. Seeing him like this, everyone shook their heads and sighed secretly, thinking that such a young man must suffer a great loss. At this time, the butler appeared again and said loudly to everyone, "Dear doctors and professors, the conference room is ready. Now please come together to consult on the old man's illness. Doctors whose names are read, please enter first." The butler then said, "Our eldest master said that 2 distinguished guests are invited to enter in advance." When this was said, everyone was particularly surprised. Could it be the boy sitting on the plastic stool? Yes, they are indeed 2 people. But before everyone could guess for long, the butler directly said the name of the distinguished guest. "Our eldest young master has personally instructed that Jiang Lang and Chen Yuan should go in first and wait." When these words came out, many people breathed a sigh of relief. They said it was impossible. Several people also recognized Jiang Lang's identity. This guy was the eldest son of the largest medicinal material merchant in Yancheng, and his family had several hospitals. This time, medicinal materials were needed to rescue people, so it was not surprising that Jiang Lang was invited in alone. Jiang Lang did not expect that he would be invited alone. He immediately stood up, glanced at Lin Chuan proudly, and then walked in. Chen Yuan followed closely behind, with pride written all over her face. She was very proud in her heart. When had she ever been so glorious living with Lin Chuan? Lin Chuan might not have such treatment in his life. As he spoke, the housekeeper read out the names one by one. As time passed, there were fewer and fewer doctors in the inner hall, until only Lin Chuan was left. But the housekeeper closed the list directly and turned around to leave. "Didn't you call me?" Lin Chuan frowned slightly, and a little anger rose in his heart. Only he could cure Shen Weishou's disease, so it didn't matter if he didn't go for the consultation. But it can't be repeated. If the Shen family continues to make things difficult for him, even if Shen Ting kneels down to beg him, he will never treat Shen Weishou. He stood up and stopped the housekeeper. "Why is my name not on it?" The housekeeper was stunned and looked at Lin Chuan carefully, his eyes full of surprise. "Why haven't you left yet?" Lin Chuan frowned and asked, "Didn't you say you were going to the consultation? Why is my name not on it?" The housekeeper laughed, "You really want to go for the consultation? Okay, I know what you mean. Don't you just want money? This is the round trip fare for you to be reimbursed, and the rest of the money will be your meal money." After that, he took out a stack of money and threw it on Lin Chuan. Lin Chuan narrowed his eyes and smiled. "Is this the attitude of the Shen family, or the attitude of your young lady?" The housekeeper didn't want to argue with Lin Chuan anymore, and said impatiently, "Of course it's the attitude of our Shen family. Young Master Shen Ting said that the old master's condition is fine. Go back to where you came from. Don't waste time here." Lin Chuan's eyes flashed with contempt. Since the housekeeper said so, he didn't have any burden. He said, "In this case, then I wish your old master Shen a long life, but if you have an illness that can't be cured, don't look for me anymore." After that, he threw the money into the air. The banknotes fell all over the floor. He turned and left. The housekeeper laughed and cursed him as a lunatic. Don't worry. Even if the old Master Shen is really in trouble, he won't look for you. So many famous doctors have come to my Shen family, and there are still diseases that can't be cured. Need you, a little doctor, to help. Chapter 18 Lin Chuan. At this time, in the Shen family ward, the test has been completed, and all quacks have been eliminated. There are less than 30 doctors left on the scene. At this time, they have arrived and are ready to diagnose and treat Mr. Shen. They are all the most famous and top doctors in Yangcheng, both Chinese and Western medicine, and there are even a few old doctors who have retired. And Shen Ting is anxiously looking for Lin Chuan in the crowd. It shouldn't be. He clearly saw Lin Chuan enter the inner hall, how could he not see anyone? But at this moment, all the children of the Shen family are here, and he can't get away. He can only wait anxiously. Shen Tu is good at killing enemies in battle, but he knows nothing about treating diseases. Looking at the frowning faces of the doctors, he knew that the progress was not very smooth. He asked, "How is my father's condition?" The doctors were silent. Shen Junyu couldn't help asking, "Are you guys doctors? Why don't you say anything? You can't tell." The doctors looked at each other and shook their heads. "I'm really sorry, we can't do anything." Shen Junyu was anxious and angry after hearing this. A bunch of quacks. What's the point of hiring you? It's a waste of money. An old man couldn't help saying, "How can medicine be a joke? What's more, your father's body has been destroyed one after another, and it has been riddled with holes." A cold light flashed in Shen Tu's eyes. He said, "Don't be angry, old gentleman. My sister is also eager to save my father. Please bear with me." Then he changed the subject. "But what do you mean by saying that my father has been destroyed one after another?" The old doctor bowed slightly. "It's like this. We found out that your father didn't fall ill suddenly. He used the wrong treatment for a long time, which made his condition worse year by year and finally broke out. But it can still be cured at this time. Look, there are 2 red spots here. Ordinary people may think it's just a rash or acne, but we doctors can see at a glance that this is the trace of acupuncture. Someone used acupuncture here to help the old man survive, but somehow the acupuncture was interrupted. Even so, as long as these 2 needles are still there, the body is fine. I never expected that someone would forcibly remove the needles, causing the condition to worsen, which led to the current irreversible situation." Shen Tu immediately looked at the people around him. "Is that the case?" Shen Junyu was extremely guilty, rubbing her hands nervously. They are talking nonsense. What's going on?" Shen Tu looked at Shen Junyu instantly. Shen Junyu immediately defended herself, "Brother, I did stop him. But that doctor was definitely not saving people. He was harming people. Such a long silver needle was inserted into their heart. How could he have such medical skills? Brother, you must believe me." Shen Tu looked at the military doctor he brought with him. "Go check it out." The military doctor checked it out and nodded, saying, "It is true. Mr. Shen used the wrong medicine from the beginning. He had 2 chances to survive afterwards, but unfortunately." Hearing this, Shen Junyu collapsed to the ground. "How is it possible? You are talking nonsense. Brother, don't believe what these quacks say. They are just fooling you. A bunch of rubbish can't cure my father's illness and want to shirk responsibility." The old doctor laughed, "Miss Shen, your father's illness is not caused by us. What responsibility do we have if we can't cure it? You old thing." Shen Junyu wanted to curse, but Shen Tu shouted at this time. "Shen Junyu! Shut up!" Shen Junyu was so scared that she trembled all over and immediately shut up. Shen Tu's eyes were cold and he said directly, "Who prescribed the medicine for my father?" The housekeeper did not dare to neglect it and hurriedly said, "It was the doctor invited by Miss Shen from abroad. Bring him in." After a while, Dr. Cao, Mr. Shen's personal doctor, was brought in. The bodyguard did not forget to add, "This guy climbed over the wall and tried to escape, but we caught him back." As soon as he came in, Dr. Cao knelt down in front of Shen Tu. "Mr. Shen, please forgive me, I dare not lie again, and I didn't expect it to be so serious." The bodyguard then brought his ID to Shen Tu. After checking, Shen Tu's face became even colder. All the IDs were fake. This guy was a doctor, but he had never been abroad. He was just an outpatient doctor in a county hospital before. Shin Junyu actually spent millions of annual salary to support such a person. Shin Tu sneered, my father has been busy these days. Those crocodiles he raised haven't been fed for a long time, right? Yes. Dr. Cow, I'll leave it to you. Your portion is just enough. After saying that, he waved his hand, and the bodyguard immediately tied up Dr. Cow, who was screaming like a pig being slaughtered, and took him out of the room. The ward was silent, as quiet as death. Shin Tu asked again, I remember that the previous private doctor was very good and had no problems for 10 years. Why did you change? The housekeeper said nervously, it was Miss Shin. She said that the previous doctor was found by Shin Ting and said that he wanted to harm Mr. Shin, so he changed. Shin Tu took a deep breath. Shin Junyu, I think you have been abroad for too long and have lost your humanity. Don't go abroad next year. Come to the border with me. There is a shortage of minesweepers over there. You can also gain some experience. Hearing this, Shin Junyu was so scared that she trembled all over. She has been there before. There are hundreds of miles of yellow sand and not even a living person can be seen. She burst into tears and crawled to Shin Tu's feet wailing. Brother, please don't let me go anywhere. I know I was wrong, Get lost. Shin Tu kicked her away and sneered, so you still recognize me as your brother? I thought you had turned your back on me. After that, he suppressed his grief and said, thank you all for coming from afar to treat my father. I will transfer the medical fee to the card without a penny less. Please go back. The doctors were silent, but it was true now. Mr. Shin was already beyond help and there was no medicine to cure him. Then Shin Tu looked at Shin Ting and said calmly, brother, go and inform the relatives of the Shin family who are away to come back and attend my father's funeral. Shin Ting took a deep breath and said loudly, brother, I know someone who can definitely cure Dad. Oh? Tell me who it is. Lin Chuan. As soon as these words came out, Shin Junyu felt as if a centipede was crawling on her back, and her spine felt cold. She realized she was finished. Chapter 19. A shot to save a life. As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes flashed with confusion. They had never heard of this name. Shin Ting said quickly, the day before. It was Lin Chuan who pointed out the mistake in Dad's treatment plan. It was also Lin Chuan who gave Dad acupuncture. If it weren't for him, Dad might have died a long time ago. What? Shin Tu stood up and said hurriedly, where is he now? I'll go and invite him in person. Shin Ting hesitated and said, I just took him outside the door, but for some reason he didn't come in. Shin Tu looked at the housekeeper, what's going on? The housekeeper knelt on the ground with a plop and said tremblingly, I heard from 2 people that this man is a quack doctor who came to cheat money, so we stopped him outside the door. Where is he now? Shin Tu said anxiously. Miss Shin asked me to drive him away. He should have gone far away now. Shin Tu's eyes darkened after hearing this, go find him quickly. Don't sit there stupidly. Come with me. At this moment, Lin Chuan had just walked out of the Shin family's gate and had not walked far. Because he knew that no one except himself could cure Shin Weishou's illness. The Shin family will definitely come to see him again. Just then, a familiar voice came to his ears. Hey, isn't this Lin Chuan? Walking under the hot sun, how sunny. He squinted his eyes and saw that the people coming were Jiang Lang and Chen Yuan. These 2 people were not doctors. Others went in to see patients, so they naturally had nothing to do and were strolling outside. Walking here, I didn't expect to see Lin Chuan preparing to escape in shame. Chen Yuan covered her mouth and laughed, leaving so early. Could it be that you can't even get in the door? Jiang Lang laughed and said, I said, what is your identity? Would the Shin family use you to see a doctor? You are worthy. Whether you are worthy or not, we will see in a while. Har har. Jiang Lang smiled contemptuously, still stubborn. Lin Chuan was about to refute, but heard a burst of hurried footsteps. He turned and said calmly, Jiang Lang, smile more, you won't be able to smile anymore soon. He patted the wrinkles on his clothes and stood there with his hands behind his back. Jiang Lang didn't understand and asked curiously, what's wrong? Can't stand the sun. Are you going to leave now? What were you doing earlier? But as soon as he finished speaking, he heard footsteps behind him. Turning around, he saw a 1.9-meter tall strong man leading the Shin family to run straight towards them. Jiang Lang's face was particularly pleasantly surprised, and he hugged Chen Yue and whispered, They couldn't find us, and thought they neglected us, so the whole family came to invite us back for dinner. Chen Yue widened her eyes in shock and said excitedly, really? This is too face-saving. Jiang Lang's nose was almost up to the sky, and he said proudly, there will be plenty of such things in the future. Soon, the Shen family came to the two of them. Jiang Lang waved his hand and said, why do you need to ask for a special invitation? We can just call and go back. You are too polite. What he never expected was that the leading sturdy man pushed Jiang Lang away without even looking at him. Just when he was stunned, the leading sturdy man stopped in front of Lin Chuan. With a thump. The sturdy man knelt on his knees in front of Lin Chuan. Then everyone in the Shen family knelt down like waves. Shen two of the Shen family, you neglected Dr. Lin. Please forgive me. Many younger generations of the Shen family said in unison, please forgive me. Lin Chuan nodded slightly as if he had expected it long ago. And Chen Yuan and Jiang Lang stood there as if petrified, with faces that could not tell whether they were ashamed, shocked or angry. They would never have thought that Shen Tu, the most powerful person in the Shen family, would appear in front of him. It was even more unexpected that Shen Tu would kneel down to Lin Chuan. Lin Chuan said calmly, what? You just chased me away. What do you mean now? Shen Tu immediately responded, Dr. Lin, please forgive me for my negligence. As long as you can cure my father, Shen Tu is willing to work for you like a cow and a horse. Once you open your mouth, Shen Tu will die for you. Seeing that Lin Chuan did not answer, Shen Tu clapped his hands directly. Shen Junyu was dragged out and thrown to Lin Chuan. Shen Tu said coldly, just now I learned that Shen Junyu has repeatedly offended you, please do whatever you want. Life or death. The Shen family will never say no. After that, a pile of torture instruments were presented in front of Lin Chuan. At this moment, Shen Junyu, who was sitting on the ground, was trembling with fear, and his eyes were full of horror. Lin Chuan did not expect Shen Tu to do this. He had nothing to say. Okay. Lead the way. Shen Tu's eyes were particularly surprised, and he bowed his hands quickly. Thank you, Dr. Lin. Soon, the Shen family left in a hurry. Shen Junyu collapsed on the spot, looking at Lin Chuan's back, her eyes wondering what she was thinking. A group of people from the Shen family surrounded Lin Chuan and walked inside. As if they were afraid that Lin Chuan would fall to death in a few steps, they surrounded him like a treasure. But Jiang Lang, who was originally a distinguished guest, was treated as transparent and no one cared. Jiang Lang had never been ignored like this, and the deep sense of humiliation made him very painful. He hurried forward and wanted to ask clearly. But the people of the Shen family walked past him one by one, but no one paid attention to him. Until the last member of the Shen family entered the inner hall, no one looked at him. He really couldn't figure out why Lin Chuan was so respected, but he was like a stray dog, no one paid attention to him. Inner hall of the Shen family. When Lin Chuan appeared in front of the doctors, their whole place was dead silent. It turned out to be him. Everyone stared at Lin Chuan, no one could figure out what the Shen family was doing. Just now, they didn't let anyone in, but now they are treating him as a distinguished guest. Could it be that this young man is really capable? Under the gaze of everyone, Lin Chuan made a simple examination. After confirming that only 2 needles were pulled out, he calmed down. Shen Tu was extremely nervous and asked, Dr. Lin, take a look, how sure are you about my father's illness? Everyone held their breath. Lin Chuan said without hesitation, 100%. Many people present were choked by Lin Chuan's words and coughed repeatedly. He just took a look and said 100%. The doctors were even more shocked. This young man is really young and frivolous, how dare he be so sure? Shen Tu tried to calm himself down and said, what do we need to prepare? Lin Chuan smiled slightly, 1 silver needle will do. The scene was extremely quiet. This young man is really too arrogant. 1 silver needle, looking at the whole world, no one can do it. Okay. Shen Tu was also impressed by Lin Chuan's confidence. Since this guy dared to say that, he must be capable. Then please ask Dr. Lin to save people as soon as possible. Soon, a silver needle was handed to Lin Chuan. Mr. Shen's condition was already very bad. His face was purple, and the ends of his 10 fingers were extremely blue and purple. This was a manifestation of severe hypoxia and extreme decline of body functions. Not only that, Lin Chuan found that his vital signs were extremely weak and his vitality was disordered. It can be said that in half an hour, he would not be able to survive. However, all this was not a problem for Lin Chuan. He held the silver needle in his right hand, took out a pill refined yesterday with his left hand and stuffed it into his mouth to replenish his internal strength. Suddenly, the internal strength in his body surged, and Lin Chuan shook the silver needle in his hand slightly and pierced it into Shen Weishou's heart. Then the silver needle entered the body inch by inch. Everyone's nerves were tense. Shen Tu stared at the screen of the test instrument without blinking, not daring to look away for a moment. At this time, Shen Weishou's blood pressure, blood oxygen, and heart rate were all terribly low. But when Lin Chuan began to perform acupuncture, the blood pressure that had been falling calmed down. Not only the blood pressure, but all of Shen Weishou's vital signs calmed down. Time passed by minute. Gradually, Shen Weishou's complexion returned to normal. The cyanosis on his body gradually faded. All the doctors present, whether they knew Chinese medicine or not, understood it at this moment. Lin Chuan was not just talking nonsense, he could really cure Mr. Shen. This young man is really a miracle doctor. The old miracle doctor with white hair was already full of shock at this moment. He muttered to himself, "This is actually the long-lost Lin Man acupuncture method. I didn't expect it to be still circulating in the world." The doctors around were even more surprised. So it's someone from the Lin clan. No wonder. Just then, the silver needle in Lin Chuan's hand went 1 inch further. The data on the testing instrument gradually began to rise like a rising tide. Everyone held their breath. After a moment, Lin Chuan pulled out the silver needle and breathed a sigh of relief. Shen Tu hurriedly asked, "Dr. Lin, how is my father?" Lin Chuan didn't say anything, but just pointed at Shen Weishou lying on the bed. Everyone hurried over. At this time, he looked ruddy and his vital signs were back to normal. And the tiny needle hole on his chest was oozing black blood. Suddenly, he coughed violently and coughed up black blood clots. Shen Tu hurriedly went up to help his father up and caught the blood clots he coughed up with his hands to prevent him from choking himself. Under the shocked gaze of everyone, Shen Weishou slowly opened his eyes. Although his weak consciousness had not yet recovered, his eyeballs could already move. Shen Tu was extremely excited and kowtowed to express his gratitude. "Thank you, Dr. Lin. Everyone, my father has recovered. To thank you for coming from afar to treat my father. And to thank Dr. Lin for saving my father. I will immediately prepare a banquet to thank you. After the banquet, there will be gifts." Chapter 20 Inheritance Pendant. In Shen Weishou's ward, the doctor arranged for him to rest, leaving only the Shen family members around the old man. At this time, he had regained consciousness. Although he had been in a deep coma for the past few days, he had heard some things vaguely. He opened his eyes and said in a hoarse voice, "How long have I been in a coma?" Shen Tu held his father's hand and said, "It's only a few days, Dad, don't worry, your illness is fine now." Shen Weishou laughed and said, "You don't need to comfort me, I know my body best, I should be dying soon, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't have come from the front line." Shen Tu laughed and said, "Dad, I'm telling the truth. You are really fine now. Dr. Lin has cured you." "It's true, big brother, if you don't believe me, move your arm." Uncle San reminded him. Shen Weishou was skeptical, raised his arm, and was shocked to find that his arm was actually able to move freely, without the stiff feeling before he got sick. The chest was no longer stuffy, and he was no longer panting. The weakness at this time was completely due to hunger after not eating a single grain of rice for the past 2 days. "Is my terminal illness really cured?" Shen Weishou asked in shock. "Where is Dr. Lin? Please invite him in." Soon, a young figure was invited in. It was Lin Chuan. Seeing the young man in front of him, Shen Weishou looked annoyed. "Didn't you say to invite Dr. Lin? Why did you call him?" Shen Tu hurriedly said, "Dad, this is Dr. Lin. He cured you with his own hands." Shen Weishou was completely frozen. He would never have thought that the young man who was ridiculed by him would actually save his life, let alone that he had the ability to cure his illness. Shen Tu explained the whole story clearly, and Shen Weishou felt mixed emotions. I didn't expect that his most beloved little daughter was the one who harmed him, and a young man who was despised by him actually saved him. He looked at Lin Chuan, smiled bitterly and said, "Little friend Lin, you can save my life without holding a grudge. I really don't know how to thank you." Lin Chuan said, "There is no need to be grateful. Shen Ting has already given me money. If he hadn't begged me, I wouldn't have come to save you." Hearing this, Shen Waisu sighed, Shen Ting is so good to me. Thinking of this, he felt even more ashamed and struggled to climb down from the bed. Coming to Lin Chuan, he bowed and said, Little friend Lin, I didn't believe your kind words of advice a few days ago, and I even ridiculed you. I deserve this life and death torture today. I really don't know how to thank you for saving me. Lin Chuan waved his hand and said, Your Shen family has given me a lot of benefits. They are them, and I am me, brother Lin. I don't need to thank you for your kindness. I kowtow to you. Lin Chuan was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. It was really shocking for an old man in his 60s to kowtow to you. He quickly got up and helped Shen Waisu up. No, kowtow to me at your age, isn't it shortening my life? It must be said that Shen Waisu is also a man of temperament. The two of them didn't have any fundamental contradictions, it was just a verbal dispute. When he knelt today, Lin Chuan's anger was mostly gone. After such an incident, the two of them could sit down and chat calmly. Finally, Shen Waisu simply drove all the Shen family members out and talked to Lin Chuan alone. Only then did he know that although Lin Chuan was a descendant of the wealthy Lin family, he did not enjoy the benefits of the wealthy family at all. When he became an adult, the wealthy family had already declined. In the end, his parents disappeared, the family land was divided up, and the huge Lin family disappeared in an instant. Shen Waisu also talked about his own experience. The more he talked, the more he liked it, and the more he regretted his behavior. He actually said such words. In the end, Shen Waisu said proudly, Brother Lin, do you have any relatives now? Lin Chuan shook his head and said, There should be some, but they are all distant relatives, and we have long cut off contact. The Lin family was rich and powerful back then, and had been rich for hundreds of years. How could they all die? It's just that relatives from other places are unwilling to pay attention to the Yancheng Lin family. It's ironic that when the Yancheng Lin family was rich, these relatives came to make friends. Finally, the family fell into decline, and everyone cut off all ties. There was not even a relative willing to help him. Shen Waisu could not help but sigh. If you are poor in the city, no one will care about you. If you are rich in the mountains, you will have distant relatives. Brother, if you don't mind, the Shen family will be your home in the future. Lin Chuan nodded slightly, and his heart was filled with warmth. When the conversation came to this, Shen Waisu seemed to have thought of something, turned over and took out a pendant from the drawer and handed it to Lin Chuan. Lin Chuan was a little confused. What is this? Your Lin family's things. When your Lin family declined, all kinds of treasures were scattered all over the place, and this thing was also purchased by me. Shen Waisu sighed. Today, it can be regarded as returning to its original owner. Lin Chuan looked down and saw that the pendant was inlaid with a cat's eye gem, and some dust fell on it. He gently wiped it with his thumb, and a flash of light flashed in his mind in an instant. It turned out to be another memory inherited by the Lin family. He only heard a voice echoing in his mind. This is the secret method of Lin family feng shui, recorded here, passed down to the bloodline of Lin family. Lin Chuan suppressed his surprise and said with a bow, Thank you, Mr. Shen. Seeing Lin Chuan accepted calmly, Shen Waisu was also very happy. If I meet you again in the future, I will definitely help you get it. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and asked, Little friend Lin, let me ask you, are you interested in tangled? Lin Chuan was stunned and nodded gently. If you like someone, you like him. There is nothing to hide. Shen Waisu sighed and said helplessly, Little friend Lin, please forgive me for speaking frankly. The Tang family is extremely powerful, and the forces behind it are unimaginable. I dare to advise you that the gap between you two is too big. There is no hope for you and her. If you insist on your own way, you will eventually be crushed in the face of strength. Lin Chuan's face calmed down and he said calmly, Old Shen, I understand what you mean, but people are not static. I, Lin Chuan, am like this today, but it does not mean that I will be like this tomorrow. Sooner or later, I will revive the Lin family and become an existence above 10,000 people. Tangled, I will never give up. Old Shen's eyes lit up and he said admiringly, Little friend Lin, you are so right. This is how people should be. I am short-sighted. The two people in the room continued to chat. Outside the ward, a beauty was leaning against the door to eavesdrop on their conversation. She bit her lips lightly, her eyes wandering, and she listened so attentively. When she heard Lin Chuan's heroic words, her cheeks suddenly turned red. This guy. Tang Guo complained, but her face was full of sweetness. How could she not like Lin Chuan? She had long since failed to repay him for saving her life twice. Just when she was about to speak, her cell phone suddenly vibrated. She took it out and saw a message in front of her. After seeing the message clearly, her face instantly became extremely gloomy. Trouble. Tang Guo frowned and quietly left the door. Chapter 21. The banquet begins. The Shen family's banquet went on as scheduled. Lin Chuan had no interest in the banquet. He looked around for Tang Guo, but could not see her. Just at this moment, someone patted Lin Chuan's shoulder gently. "Mr. Lin, are you looking for Miss Tang?" "Yes." Lin Chuan looked at him unexpectedly. "Do you know where Miss Tang is?" "Well, I'll take you there." Lin Chuan didn't think much and followed this person. The two of them came to the door of a room after many twists and turns. The servant bowed his head and said, "Miss Tang is inside, please go in." Lin Chuan didn't think much and pushed the door open and walked in. The decoration style of the room was a girl's boudoir. Lin Chuan was wondering when he suddenly saw a figure on the bed. She was facing away from him, wearing a silk pajamas, and her smooth and white back was exposed to his sight. The long legs were on the edge of the bed, and there was a faint smell of alcohol in the air. It seemed that Tang Guo had drunk alcohol. Lin Chuan swallowed his saliva and asked curiously, "Tang Guo?" The girl didn't answer, but stretched out her finger and hooked it towards Lin Chuan. Lin Chuan was extremely nervous and walked slowly to the front. But the room was dark, and the sunlight outside the window was blocked by thick curtains, so he couldn't see the girl's face clearly. He just walked to the front, and before he could speak, he saw the girl actually rushed up and hugged him tightly. Lin Chuan was in a panic, but in a panic, he smelled a faint fragrance. This was something he had never smelled on Tang Guo. He was suddenly shocked and pushed the girl away. The girl fell heavily on the bed and cried out in pain. Lin Chuan pulled open the curtains, and the dazzling sunlight shone on the girl. "Shen Junyu." Lin Chuan stared at the woman in front of him with a cold face. Shen Junyue's face was flushed, and the thin clothes could not cover the spring light leaking out at all. That's right, this woman is not Tang Guo at all, but Shen Junyu, the eldest daughter of the Shen family. He was glad that his mind was still clear. If something happened between him and Shen Junyu at this time, he would probably fall into the trap of this woman. He was very puzzled. "Shen Junyu, what are you thinking about? You are seducing me here." Shen Junyu was ashamed and wanted to die. I like you." "Bullshit." Lin Chuan sneered. He was not stupid. Shen Junyu looked at him with eyes that did not show any love. She wanted to kill him. "It seems that you are not going to tell the truth. I am too lazy to waste time with you." After hearing this, Shen Junyu rushed out of bed and hugged Lin Chuan's legs. "Lin Chuan, don't leave. I'll tell you. Lin Chuan stopped, and he was also very curious about what could make Shen Junyu sacrifice her appearance. Shen Junyu said with great fear, "Lin Chuan, I did this just to ask you to plead with my brother not to take me to the desert military camp. My brother doesn't listen to me, but you said he would definitely agree." Ever since Shen Tu said he would take her to the military camp, Shen Junyu was scared to death. In addition, the people around her were liquidated one after another. Even Dr. Cao, whom she trusted the most, was fed to the crocodile. She thought that her fate would be the same. After all, she had been harming Shenting before, and now that Shenting was in power, he would definitely want to kill her. As long as Shenting told his elder brother Shentu what he had done in the past few years since returning to China, she would be finished. In fear and panic, she chose such a stupid method. She wanted to deceive Lin Chuan first, and then use this to threaten him to help her. Lin Chuan had a complicated expression. That's it. Just because of this matter, Shen Junyu actually sacrificed her appearance. Didn't Shen Junyu understand that no matter how she acted, she was still the eldest daughter of the Shen family, and the desert military region was still her brother's territory? Could her brother let her die in the desert? "I'm sorry, I can't help you with this." After saying that, Lin Chuan stood up and was about to leave. Shen Junyu was anxious, and hurriedly stood up and said, "You must help me. Otherwise, I will call someone. Say you want to come in and insult me." Lin Chuan's face sank, and he grabbed Shen Junyue's neck. "Shen Junyu, you still dare to threaten me? Do you believe I will kill you now?" Shin Juanyue's body was shaking like a sieve. She was really scared. Because in her heart, she was already a pawn of the Shin family. Even if Lin Chuan killed her, no one would blame Lin Chuan. Even at the beginning, in order to calm Lin Chuan's anger, they planned to kill themselves. Looking at her appearance, Lin Chuan shook his head and sighed, and threw her on the bed casually. I hope you will be a normal person in the future and reform yourself in the desert military area. Then, with a bang, Lin Chuan slammed the door and left. In the room, Shin Juanyue's eyes were empty and her face was full of fear. At this moment, she was extremely desperate, and obviously thought she was dead. She was motionless like a dead person, and she didn't even have the mood to tidy up her leaked spring light. After an unknown period of time, there was a knock on the door. Shin Juanyu trembled all over, thinking that this must be someone coming to pick her up to go to the desert. But outside the door was the gentle voice of the housekeeper. Miss Shin, Master Shin 2 notified you to attend the banquet. Have you dressed? Shin Juanyu was stunned. Go to the banquet. She had caused such a big thing, why would they notify her to attend the banquet? I'm almost ready. She replied in a panic. Okay, miss. Listening to the footsteps outside the door gradually fading away, her eyes were extremely confused. She was so stubborn that she didn't understand that her brother was just speaking in anger, but thought of another reason. It must be Lin Chuan who spoke for me. Yes, it must be Lin Chuan who interceded for me to let my brother let me go. No one else can do it except him. Her face flushed, she was very excited, and she was even more grateful to Lin Chuan to the point of madness. However, Lin Chuan had no time to take care of their family's affairs. He hadn't seen Miss Tang since he cured Mr. Shin, which made him a little nervous. Just then, Shin Ting found him. She said that the Tang family suddenly had an emergency and called her back. Lin Chuan was relieved immediately. Tang Guo also left him a note and asked Shin Ting to pass it to him. He opened it and took a look. The front was Tang Guo's instructions to him. If he encountered trouble, how to contact her, and there was another thing attached to the note. This was an employment contract. Tang Guo actually arranged a job for him. It turned out to be the vice president of a listed company in Yancheng. Looking at the contract above, the salary and position are not low. This inevitably warmed Lin Chuan's heart. He knew that this was Tang Guo's intention to support him to enter the inner circle. He accepted the contract and put it in his pocket carefully. When Shin Ting saw him finish reading the note, he smiled and said, Dr. Lin, the banquet has already started, please enter quickly. Chapter 22. Is it possible that I didn't use acupuncture? Mr. Shin recovered from his serious illness, and Shin 2 directly set up a full 80 tables. He invited almost everyone he knew in Yancheng. Even passers-by outside were invited in to share in the joy. As soon as Lin Chuan entered the venue, he was also frightened by the scene in front of him. He didn't expect so many people to come. Mr. Lin, please come in quickly, everyone is waiting for you. Shin Ting urged behind him. Lin Chuan nodded slightly, and felt that he was too shy, so he walked out. At this moment, Mr. Shin was chatting with someone. When he saw Lin Chuan coming out, he stood up happily to greet him. Little friend Lin, you are finally here. Where have you been for so long? I've been looking for you for a long time, come on. Sit here. Lin Chuan nodded slightly and walked towards Mr. Shin. Everyone at the scene was shocked by Mr. Shin's behavior. Who is this guy? He is actually on good terms with Mr. Shin. Mr. Shin, who has just recovered from a serious illness, personally invited me. Oh my god, when he sat down, even Shin 2 stood up and waited for him to sit down before sitting down. There were more and more discussions in the audience. Mr. Shin smiled and said, everyone, didn't you want to know who cured my illness just now? As soon as he said this, the scene instantly became quiet. After hearing that Mr. Shin's serious illness was cured, they couldn't wait to get to know this miracle doctor. At this time, the happy Mr. Shin pointed to Lin Chuan beside him and said with a smile, It's him. Lin Chuan. As soon as he said this, the scene instantly became extremely agitated. It turned out that such a young man cured Mr. Shin. Nonsense, right? He cured such a serious illness by himself. Didn't he invite doctors from all over Guangzhou? Someone who knew the inside story explained. How could that be? I heard that none of those doctors were useful, and this young man cured it with just one shot. Everyone at the scene couldn't help but take a deep breath. Cure with one shot. Several wealthy people couldn't sit still. How could such a miracle happen? If they could even cure the illness of old Shen, then their minor illnesses and disasters would certainly be no problem. If it weren't for the face, they would have rushed over to ask Lin Chuan to see them. And the most dumbfounded people in the audience were Jiang Lang and Chen Yuan. These two people just came in. They had been left aside by the Shen family and couldn't even get in. It was hard for them to get in with passers-by. The two hungry people hadn't figured out what was going on before they heard such a shocking thing. How is it possible? Chen Yuan almost screamed. I know Lin Chuan very well. How could he have the ability to cure diseases and save people? He is just a waste. What's going on? Jiang Lang was also dumbfounded, his eyes full of jealousy. What else could it be? He must have used the Lin family's old prescription. It seems that Mr. Shen's illness is not serious. I can go. The two watched the wealthy people on the stage toasting Lin Chuan, and the eldest son of the Shen family and Lin Chuan toasted each other. What made Jiang Lang even more jealous was that after the eldest daughter of the Shen family came out, she actually ran straight to Lin Chuan. Shen Junyu was wearing a tight cheongsam, with a graceful and delicate figure, showing her perfect figure. Many young men's eyes were instantly fixed. After Shen Junyu arrived at the venue, she did not sit down, but walked to Lin Chuan. Without waiting for Lin Chuan's reaction, she took the initiative to pick up the wine pot for Lin Chuan and help him pour wine. Everyone present was dumbfounded, even the Shen family members were surprised. When did this willful Shen Junyu serve others? Even Lin Chuan was a little at a loss, and waved his hand and said, I can do it myself. But Shen Junyu blushed slightly, and said stubbornly, Mr. Lin, Junyu was wrong about what happened before. Just let me serve you, as an apology to you. Hearing this, the Shen family members around Lin Chuan were relieved. This Shen Junyu has finally grown up. But Lin Chuan's face was a little embarrassed. The Shen family thought Shen Junyu was talking about curing the disease. But Lin Chuan understood that Shen Junyu was talking about what happened in the bedroom just now. At first, Lin Chuan thought that Shen Junyu was trying to make trouble. I didn't expect that she was really standing behind him obediently. When there was no wine, she came up to pour the wine without saying a word. This obedient look made Lin Chuan particularly uncomfortable. And the pairs of eyes in the audience were even more jealous. Lin Chuan shook his head helplessly. These young masters rarely saw Shen Junyue's unruly appearance, so they naturally thought she was such a gentle and elegant beauty. It was understandable that they were so jealous of me. But if they really saw Shen Junyue's unruly character hidden under her gentle appearance, I wonder how many people would like her. And the one who was so angry that he almost bit the table was Jiang Lang. The treatment that Lin Chuan enjoyed now was all in his imagination. But Lin Chuan, why? He was just a small figure, a guide he used to easily control. In his anger, he cursed subconsciously. A waste, just lucky. I can do it too. However, I don't know if it was bad luck. When he said this, the scene just fell silent for a second. It was just this second that made his voice reach Shen Weishu's ears very clearly. Shen Weishu swept his eyes and finally fixed on Jiang Lang. My friend, it seems that you have something to say. Why don't you stand up and speak properly? As soon as these words came out, countless eyes were fixed on Jiang Lang. Jiang Lang quickly defended himself. Mr. Shen, I was just confused for a moment and said nonsense. But before he finished speaking, Chen Yuan beside him shouted, Why are you so cowardly? This Lin Chuan is a waste. The prescriptions he used to treat diseases and save lives were also stolen from our family. Mr. Shen, if you don't believe me, go and see the prescriptions we handed in before, there must be the ones he used. She sneered and said, This shameless thing, it's okay to steal my prescriptions, but he even brought a maid to eat. I don't know who the cheap one is. She actually worked as a maid for Lin Chuan. As soon as these words came out, everyone's face turned green. How can that be a cheap maid? That's the eldest daughter of the Shen family. Jiang Lang trembled, and he wanted to cover Chen Yuan's mouth immediately. This stupid woman didn't recognize the eldest daughter of the Shen family. Mr. Shen's face was even colder. You said that Lin Xiao's prescription was stolen from your family. Chen Yuan looked confident. Yes. If you don't believe me, go check what prescription he used when you were dying. Mr. Shen looked at Jiang Lang, do you think so too? At this point, Jiang Lang had no choice but to bite the bullet and say, Please Mr. Shen, please be discerning. We handed over all the prescriptions to the Shen family this morning. Whether this kid stole our prescriptions or not, we will know once we check. At this time, the discussion in the audience gradually rose. Everyone was a little hesitant. Could it be that Lin Chuan really stole the prescription to treat the disease? No wonder, such a young man has such medical skills. I said it's abnormal. Is it true? The Shen family didn't examine it carefully. How could it be false? The Jiang family and the Shen family have a cooperative relationship. Without solid evidence, can he talk nonsense? Listening to the voices of the crowd, Jiang Lang gradually straightened his back. He was even more confident. He has applied for patents for all the prescriptions of the Lin family. He must have used the Lin family prescriptions to save Mr. Shen. We will know it when we check it out. Just as the discussion in the audience was getting more and more, Lin Chuan responded calmly. Is it possible that I didn't use any prescriptions at all, only acupuncture, and cured Mr. Shen? Chapter 23 Meeting an Old Friend. An old voice from the audience responded. At that time, Mr. Shen was seriously ill and could not take any medicine or intravenous injection. If it were not for the wonderful acupuncture of Dr. Lin, who cured Mr. Shen with one needle, there would be no banquet today. As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at the old man. Many people recognized the old man's identity immediately. Chen Kunlun, the most experienced doctor in the room, actually spoke for Lin Chuan. Lin Chuan nodded slightly to Chen Kunlun to express his gratitude. Chen Kunlun nodded to Lin Chuan. With the support of such a master of traditional Chinese medicine, Jiang Lang's statement was instantly shattered. Chen Kunlun said calmly, Dr. Lin's medical skills are superb, and I dare not say anything. Who are you to question? Everyone was particularly surprised when they heard this. Such words of admiration actually came from Chen Kunlun. It really surprised them. On the stage, Jiang Lang's prescription had been delivered to Shen Weisu. He only took a look and understood the problem. He snorted coldly, threw the prescription, and asked calmly, Is this prescription from your Jiang family? Jiang Lang nodded and said, Yes, it's from our Jiang family. Bullshit. This is clearly something from the Lin family. Hearing this, Jiang Lang's face turned pale. He never expected that Shen Weisu actually knew the origin of this prescription. Shen Weisu looked at Lin Chuan and asked, Little friend Lin, this thing should be yours, right? Yes. Lin Chuan nodded and said calmly, It's just that I made a mistake and made the wrong friends at the beginning, and this prescription was cheated away by someone. The people in the audience understood it then. So this Jiang Lang is the liar. I said the Jiang family has only been rich for a few decades. What prescriptions do they have? Yes, they are all middlemen, making their fortunes by reselling. Do they really think they are medical family? Shen Weisu waved his hand and sneered, A fraudulent, shameless and ignorant arrogant person is worthy of attending my Shen family's banquet. Who invited him? The housekeeper immediately bowed and said, No one invited them, they just sneaked in with passers-by. Har har. Shen Weisu smiled contemptuously, Break their legs and throw them out. As soon as he finished speaking, 2 bodyguards came up immediately. Jiang Lang panicked and said quickly, Mr. Shen, I am the eldest son of the Jiang family. You can't hit me. Shen Weisu asked knowingly, What is the Jiang family? Shen Ting said calmly, The Jiang family is nothing, just a small family responsible for our Shen family's medical business, not worth mentioning. Oh. Shen Weisu nodded slightly. From now on, all cooperation with the Jiang family will be terminated, and all the money for the cooperation projects will be paid by Lin Chuan. As for this guy, break his legs again. Let him crawl back. Jiang Lang knelt on the ground with a plop after hearing this. Now even if Shen Weisu doesn't kill him, his father will kill himself. He begged desperately, but no one paid attention. Everyone raised their glasses and shouted, Congratulations to Dr. Lin. Jiang Lang was dragged out, broke his legs, and thrown out like garbage. At the dining table, Chen Yuan had already quietly slipped away. She came to the bathroom and prepared to run out after the banquet. Just when she was feeling lucky for herself, the bathroom door suddenly opened. A figure stood in front of her. This person was Shen Junyu. She looked at Chen Yuan with a smile and said calmly, You just called me a bitch maid, right? Before Chen Yuan answered, she slapped her. Soon, several bodyguards surrounded her. Shen Junyu pointed with her jade hand and said calmly, Slap me to death until I am satisfied. The slapping in the bathroom did not end until the end of the banquet. Towards the afternoon, after the banquet, Lin Chuan returned home early. He rejected all the invitations from wealthy people to meet. This is not because he is aloof, but because he has something urgent to do. That is the pendant with the Lin family heritage. As soon as he got home, he couldn't wait to take out the pendant and study it. Lin Chuan was extremely excited after just a little touch. There is not only the magic of feng shui, but also the method of arranging feng shui. Lin Chuan has an amazing learning ability. After just a few minutes, he mastered the secret. The feng shui of this villa is not very good. Taking advantage of this energy, he dug a few pits near the villa and poured all the medicinal materials given by the Shen family into them. A simple spirit gathering array was arranged. This thing can help him practice and increase his speed exponentially. After the arrangement was completed, Lin Chuan couldn't wait to try it. Sure enough, the speed of practice increased a lot. He also quickly entered the state of ecstasy that was extremely difficult to enter before. When he opened his eyes again, it was already late at night. Looking at the time, it was already 9 o'clock in the evening. He actually practiced in the state of ecstasy for 8 hours. This is because the spirit gathering array is exhausted, otherwise he will not wake up at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. At this moment, Lin Chuan feels that he has endless power. He aimed at the coffee table and swung it hard. With a bang, the coffee table broke into 2 pieces. So strong? Lin Chuan's eyes lit up, but he smiled bitterly. But the materials consumed by this spirit gathering array are even more terrifying. I have used up all my medicinal materials in just 8 hours. He has to think of a way to make some money. Just then, Lin Chuan's stomach growled. He has many ways to make money, but the most important thing now is to fill his stomach. Practicing is too physically demanding. He was so hungry after having a good meal at noon. There was nothing to eat in the villa, so he had to put on his coat and go out. With the introduction of the security guard, he came to a commercial street outside the villa more than 10 minutes later. The street was crowded with people and brightly lit. But when he touched his pocket at the door of the hotel, Lin Chuan was stunned. It was then that he realized that he had no money. He had spent all his money on buying ginseng last time, and he actually forgot it. He opened his wallet, and it was empty, not even a coin. Lin Chuan was a little embarrassed. It was so late, he couldn't ask someone to borrow it, could he? Suddenly, he thought of the card given to him by the Shen family. Shen Ting said that this card was free to spend at any place in the Shen family. Then eating must be okay too, right? Thinking of this, he came to a star-rated hotel with the Shen family's sign. But just as he was about to walk in, he heard a surprised voice behind him. Lin Chuan? Why are you here? Chapter 24. Let her go. You get out. Lin Chuan turned around and looked. Lin Chuan carefully identified it, and was a little surprised that it turned out to be his high school classmate Zhang Yun. Are you Zhang Yun? Zhang Yun was very happy. Yes. I didn't expect to see you again. Lin Chuan was very emotional. Yes, I didn't expect to see you again. Looking at the graceful girl in front of him, it was hard to imagine that this was Zhang Yun. The naughty tomboy who climbed over the wall with him to surf the internet is now plump to this extent. She has delicate makeup and a hip skirt, which is full of femininity. Before the two of them could say a few words, they heard a voice from behind Zhang Yun. Who is this? Why don't you introduce him to me? A man with dark circles under his eyes walked out from behind her. Lin Chuan just glanced at him and saw that the guy looked dead. He was either seriously ill or overindulged. Zhang Yun smiled and said, I forgot about you. This is my high school classmate, his name is. Wait a minute. The man was stunned. Your high school classmate? Didn't you go to a vocational high school in high school? Did he come from a vocational high school? Zhang Yun nodded awkwardly. But. The man smiled contemptuously, no need to explain. There is no need to introduce the stuff from vocational high schools. I can't remember the names of poor guys. Hearing this, Zhang Yun could only smile apologetically at Lin Chuan. Lin Chuan didn't care. He had been looked down upon over the years. He was not the only one. Zhang Yun asked awkwardly, Lin Chuan, why are you here so late? She had the impression that Lin Chuan was living in poverty, otherwise he would not have given up the key high school and transferred to a vocational high school. You should know that the consumption of any store on this commercial street is more than 10,000 yuan. Why did Lin Chuan come here? Looking at his clothes, he doesn't look rich, right? Lin Chuan said calmly, I'm here for a simple meal. Eat. The two said in unison. The man smiled sarcastically. Come here for a meal? Did I hear you right? You can actually afford the food here. Lin Chuan was slightly displeased when he heard his contentious tone. What? Is it impossible? Of course it's impossible. Look at the way you're dressed, you must be a poor bastard. How can you afford the food here? What does it have to do with you whether I can afford it or not? Lin Chuan frowned and looked at him. Zhang Yun quickly tried to smooth things over. Young master, please stop talking. Let's eat first. Young master waved his hand and said with a smile, I believe you can afford it, but there are so many restaurants here, which one do you want to go to? Lin Chuan pointed to the door, this one. Young master sneered, guessing that Lin Chuan was just pretending to be cool and just pointed casually. What a coincidence. I want to go to this restaurant too, so let's go together. Zhang Yun was stunned and asked in confusion, Young master, didn't we say we were going to? No. Let's go to this restaurant. Young master smiled and said, since you and Zhang Yun know each other, let's go to dinner together. When the time comes, we can split the bill. Girls can go for free. How about that? Lin Chuan thought for a while. He didn't mind eating with others. But he didn't like this young master. The eldest master saw that he didn't answer, and asked contentiously, why? You don't dare, do you? Why don't you dare? Lin Chuan just felt puzzled. It was just a meal, but this guy wanted to show off his superiority? Okay, let's eat together, and pay the bill on a AA basis. Hearing this, Zhang Yun held her forehead. But she was submissive and didn't dare to disobey the eldest master, so she could only feel sorry for Lin Chuan secretly. When the three of them walked into their hotel, Lin Chuan was surprised by the scene in front of him. The decoration here is comparable to that of Fushan building. There is an artificial fountain in the center of the hall, and you can see all the private rooms on the third floor by looking up. Lin Chuan's stunned expression was seen by the eldest master, who smiled contentiously, you look like you haven't seen the world. At this time, the waiter came over. Mr. Chu. Why didn't you notify me in advance when you came? Come in, come in. Hearing this, the eldest master smiled proudly. This is a reservation-based hotel, and you can't get in without a reservation. The waiter only welcomed himself, not Lin Chuan. The result was obvious, Lin Chuan didn't book a private room at all. Unless he didn't need to book like himself. But that was impossible. Open the number 1 private room for me. The eldest master said proudly. The waiter said awkwardly, I'm sorry, Mr. Chu, the number 1 private room has been reserved. Hearing this, the eldest master's face sank. I always eat in the number 1 private room. When that bastard comes, I will say that his grandfather Chu Yuan has occupied it. After saying that, he rushed in. Young master! Young master! The waiter stepped forward to stop him, but was pushed away by the eldest master. Seeing this scene, Lin Chuan and the others had no choice but to follow in quickly. Walked into the private room. Looking at this luxuriously decorated private room, Zhang Yun swallowed her saliva. She asked worriedly, Young master, will there be any problem? Chu Yuan said nonchalantly, don't worry. Nothing will happen. They will leave when they hear my name. After that, he looked at Lin Chuan and said with a smile, you should worry about your classmate. The service fee for the number 1 private room is 300,000. I wonder if he can afford it. What? Zhang Yun widened her eyes in shock. 300,000 AA? Doesn't that mean Lin Chuan will have to pay 150,000 for the private room fee alone? Chu Yuan asked Lin Chuan with a smile, if you are scared and can't pay, kneel down and admit your mistake, and I will let you go. Lin Chuan looked calm, it's only 150,000. You have guts. Chu Yuan nodded slightly. This guy is stubborn. At this time, Chu Yuan saw that the dishes on the table had been served. Obviously, this was reserved by the person who booked the private room. But he didn't care and opened them one by one. Oh, this grandson who booked the private room is really good at eating. He couldn't help but drool. These are all delicious dishes. It's just right to save us from waiting, let's eat. Lin Chuan had been hungry for a long time, so he didn't hesitate and picked up his chopsticks to eat. Only Zhang Yun was worried. This was not only stealing someone's private room, but also eating the dishes they ordered. When the time comes, they will come to the door. She didn't even dare to think about it. Speak of the devil and he will appear. The three of them had just started eating. The door was kicked open with a bang. Fuck! Can't you knock on the door? Chu Yuan roared. But when he looked up, he was completely limp. He saw a man in a vest with tattoos all over his body coming towards him. A group of black-clothed brothers followed behind him. The bruised waiter pointed at Chu Yuan and sobbed, "Brother Chen, he broke in and I couldn't stop him." "Go away." Brother Chen kicked the waiter away. He came to Chu Yuan with a smile and patted Chu Yuan's face. "So it was you who robbed my box. I heard from the waiter that you called me grandson." Chu Yuan's legs softened and he knelt in front of the man in the vest. "Brother Chen. I didn't know it was you. This man is called Yang Chen, the boss behind this commercial street. He is worth a lot of money and has a group of younger brothers. He is well known in Yancheng. And he has another identity, that is, the grandson of Mr. Shen, the apprentice of Shenting. With the support of the Shen family and his own background, he took over the entire commercial street. Compared with him, his family is not worth mentioning." Chu Yuan was so regretful at this moment. He should have known to find out clearly before coming in. "Do you know now?" Yang Chen patted his shoulder and said with a smile, "Good fellow, you not only robbed my box, but you also ate all the food I reserved for half a month. How is it? Is my abalone delicious?" Chu Yuan was so scared that he apologized again and again. "Brother Chen, I will make up for it. I will make up for it. I will give you double the amount of what you ate." Brother Chen laughed, "You are sensible, but you can avoid the death penalty, but you can't escape the living crime. You can't eat my food for nothing. I will help you digest it." He smiled and kicked Chu Yuan in the stomach. Bang! Chu Yuan shrank into a ball in pain, holding back his wails. After dealing with him, Brother Chen turned his head and looked at Zhang Yun, who was trembling beside him. "Oh, the girl you brought is pretty good." Brother Chen waved his hand, "Come here." Zhang Yun came to Brother Chen tremblingly. Brother Chen grabbed her hand and said with a smile, "Let her accompany us brothers for one night, and today's matter will be over." Chu Yuan was stunned. "But, well, you don't agree?" Chu Yuan trembled all over and shook his head hurriedly. Brother Chen laughed and hugged Zhang Yun and wanted to go out. Zhang Yun came back to her senses at this time, looking at the group of malicious eyes around her. She was immediately terrified. "Let me go, let me go." Brother Chen didn't care at all, dragging Zhang Yun out. Just then, a cold voice came from the box. "Stop." Brother Chen looked in the direction of the voice, and saw a handsome and thin young man sitting in the middle of the box. Lin Chuan wiped his mouth, pointed at Zhang Yun, and then pointed at Brother Chen. "Let her go. Get out." Chapter 25, Instant Kill. Brother Chen followed the sound and saw that there was actually a man sitting in the box. He was handsome and thin, eating at the table. "I didn't even notice that there was another person in the box." Brother Chen laughed. "This guy didn't take advantage of me not noticing him hiding under the table, and he actually dared to come out and scold me. He came to Lin Chuan, looked down at him and asked, 'Do you want to help them?' Lin Chuan calmly stuffed a piece of broccoli into his mouth, pointed at Zhang Yun and said, 'It's not them, it's her. You can do whatever you want with the young master, but you have to let this girl go.' 'What if I don't let her go?' Brother Chen asked with narrowed eyes. 'Then I guarantee that you can't walk out of the box,' Lin Chuan said. Brother Chen laughed and gave Lin Chuan a thumbs up. 'You have the guts. Beat him to death.' As soon as he finished speaking, 3 younger brothers rushed over. This Chen Ji's younger brother was extremely burly, more than 2 meters tall and weighing more than 200 kilograms, like 3 black bears. His big feet landed on the ground with a bang, and the plates on the table trembled. But Lin Chuan was not panicked at all. After absorbing the spiritual energy of the formation and having a good meal, Lin Chuan's skills were no longer what they used to be. The 3 men rushed to him and punched him in the face. But Lin Chuan didn't even look at them, and calmly punched them. Bang! A loud noise came, and the sturdy man was fixed in place, without moving. But his consciousness had already drifted out of his body, floating in the air, as if watching the movements of his body from the perspective of a spectator. Instantly, he suddenly came to his senses, and felt as if his internal organs were crushed by a blender. It was extremely painful. Lin Chuan kicked him again and sent him 5 meters away. The other two had a worse fate. They were easily defeated by Lin Chuan before they could even get close to him. The 3 bodyguards were all Qian Ji's confidants. Qian Ji was very clear about their strength. But these 3 didn't even last a second under Lin Chuan. Qian Ji was sweating profusely. He knew that he had met a tough guy. He waved his hand and said coldly, "Don't stand there. Let's go together. Beat him to death." The younger brothers filed in. And Lin Chuan also stood up from his chair at this moment. Facing the aggressive crowd, his expression was particularly relaxed. Lin Chuan would beat as many of these guys as he could. That was exactly the case. In the blink of an eye, the thugs who were just arrogant were lying on the ground, rolling and wailing. Qian Ji was completely dumbfounded. He froze in place. He never expected that Lin Chuan could fight so well. This seemingly thin young man could actually burst out with such a strong strength. But it was no use to regret at this time. Seeing Lin Chuan pressing forward step by step, he couldn't help but tremble. "Don't come over." Suddenly, he found Zhang Yun beside him, pulled her over, and put a dinner knife against her neck. "If you come over, I will kill her." Lin Chuan stopped and shook his head helplessly. "This will be the most regrettable decision I have ever made." Before Brother Qian could react, Lin Chuan's hand shook, leaving a residual shadow. With a bang, Brother Qian's wrist dropped instantly. Looking down, there was a blood hole on the wrist, and blood was flowing. "RRR! My hand! My hand!" Brother Qian screamed and covered his wrist. Zhang Yun took the opportunity to break free and ran to Lin Chuan. "Lin Chuan!" She threw herself into Lin Chuan's arms in fear and hugged him tightly. What just happened was like a nightmare, which scared her. Lin Chuan was hugged too tightly, especially when he was squeezed by Zhang Yun's proud figure, which made it difficult for him to breathe for a while. He didn't mind suffocating to death, but now was not the right time. "Zhang Yun, you're holding me too tight." Zhang Yun finally realized what was happening and quickly let go of Lin Chuan. After this episode, when Lin Chuan looked at the door again, Brother Qian had disappeared. "Run away." Lin Chuan was quite surprised that such a powerful boss actually ran away when he wasn't paying attention. The young master, who had just been hiding under the table and shivering, poked his head out. He looked around and asked in astonishment, "Where's Brother Qian?" "I beat him away," Lin Chuan said truthfully. Hearing this, the young master's blood ran cold. "What? You dare to offend Brother Qian?" Yang Qian is the most powerful gangster in Yangcheng. He has more than just a few dozen people under his command, and he has countless bigwigs backing him up. "It's easy to kill you," Lin Chuan said calmly. "So what?" The eldest son chuckled. "Why are you so arrogant? You are just a little better. But no matter how good you are at fighting, can you beat a gun? You are fast. Are you faster than a bullet?" The eldest son laughed sarcastically. Lin Chuan, I think you are just calm on the surface. In fact, you are scared to death in your heart." Lin Chuan was speechless after hearing this, and asked with his head down. "Before you say this, can you get out from under the table?" The eldest son crawled out from under the table and patted the wrinkles on his body. He pointed at Lin Chuan's nose and said, "Wait for death." Turning around, he said coldly, "Zhang Yun, hurry up and follow me. If you don't leave now, it will be too late." He was about to reach out and grab Zhang Yun's arm. But Zhang Yun shook him off. The young master was stunned. "Zhang Yun, why don't you follow me?" Zhang Yun looked up at Lin Chuan. "If Lin Chuan doesn't leave, I won't leave either." The young master looked at Zhang Yun in disbelief. "Zhang Yun, Brother Qian has set his sights on you. Only I can protect you. If I don't protect you, Brother Qian will send you to the red light district to accompany guests in a minute." Zhang Yun's lips turned pale, but she said firmly, "I only know that when Yang Qian wanted to take me away just now, you hid under the table, and it was Lin Chuan who saved me." The young master laughed in anger. Okay. You'd better not come to me for help. Wait for death, you too." He rushed out quickly. Looking at his back, Zhang Yun was extremely nervous. She pulled Lin Chuan's hand and said, "Lin Chuan, let's run." Lin Chuan asked back, "Didn't he say he would protect you? Why don't you go with him?" Hearing this, Zhang Yun smiled bitterly. "If I hadn't encountered this incident, I might still believe that he would protect me, but now I understand that if something happens to me again, he will definitely get under the table again." Zhang Yin changed the subject and said hurriedly, Lin Chuan, let's go quickly, it will be too late if we don't leave now. But before Lin Chuan could answer, he heard a chuckle from outside the door. Why are you leaving? Let's stay together. The young master was beaten with a bruised face and thrown in like garbage. Then, a group of people came in one after another. The woman in the lead walked in front, and behind her, Yang Qian, who was covered in blood, followed. As soon as he came in, Brother Qian hurriedly pointed at Lin Chuan. It's him! It's him!